Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode here at the Damage Report. And boy, do we have a treat for you. The news. No, it sucks, but we're gonna take it together. And what we've got as we do that, Sabrina returns to the show. Abelina Sabrina of Twitch on our Twitch now. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much for having me. The news is such a treat.
It is. I was gonna say, but don't worry, we've got some good news, and let's see. No, yes, we do have a little bit of good news today. It'll take us a bit to get to, but no, we really do. It's gonna be okay. Anyway, we're glad to have you here. We always have a lot of fun on the show. For people who might not be familiar with your work, you wanna talk a little bit about what you do on your Twitch channel and on YouTube as well?
Sure. So on my Twitch, we do play games, obviously, but we also do a lot of political streams where we discuss either like local politics, as I am from Los Angeles, or we talk about United States politics. And then on YouTube, I make political commentary videos as well as sketches.
Awesome. And I believe it was only semi-intentionally, but we have several stories in the rundown to tap into your own personal interests. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Disney, which you have a personal history with. We do have some local news. We're gonna talk a little bit about video games and the target of one of your most popular viral videos, Kyrsten Sinema, is gonna appear on the show as well. So we've got a lot of fun to get to. Exactly. Oh, everybody's favorite. Who wouldn't love her? Anyway, if you're watching this, thank you. First of all, if you're not watching this, you couldn't hear what I just said. So that's a weird thing to start off with. But anyway, if you wouldn't mind liking the stream, sharing the stream so that people would know that we're live, that would be awesome. And as we go through, you can send us comments, tweets, super chats, all that, and we'll be responding as we go. Oh, early, again, heads up, at least for today. After the show at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time is going to be our live monthly Q&A, which normally takes place in the middle of the month, but stuff happened. But anyway, we are gonna be meeting up. So if you are a tier 3 member or you'd like to upgrade your membership, we're gonna be doing that a little bit later on today. People have already submitted a bunch of awesome questions and topics of conversation. We always have a lot of fun, so you can join that and that'll be awesome. And today is gonna be a big old day on the network. You've got us, then you've got Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie coming up right after the Damage Report. It's got Dr. Rashad Ritchie, it has to, it's in the contract. But also Dan Evans for the first time on Indisputable. How exciting is that? Tell me you don't wanna see that. And then right after that, you've got reactions with Ravana, and then the main show comes up. There's a lot of stuff. So buckle up, hold on to your butts. There's a lot of news coming. But with that said, Sabrina, you ready to talk about some news?
I'm holding on to my butt.
Okay, let's do it. We've been sort of waiting with bated breath to find out if Joe Biden and the Biden administration are going to make good on one of their oft-times stated campaign promises to eliminate at least some student loan debt. Depending on when you talk to him, there's a different threshold for how much he might eliminate. But we've been waiting and waiting month after month for him to do this. Well, he hasn't so far. I don't know, maybe we've come up with a reason why. Because Nancy Pelosi had this to say about President Biden's student loan debt yesterday.
People think that the President of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not. He can postpone, he can delay, but he does not have that power. That has to be an act of Congress. And I don't even like to call it forgiveness because that implies a transgression. It's not to be forgiven. Just freeing people from those obligations. The difference between the president can't do it. So that's not even a discussion. Not everybody realizes that, but the president can only postpone, delay, but not forgive.
Okay, so we chose to include that weird thing in the middle where she pretends that she has like empathy for the people with the student loan debt as she just goes out. Like, it's an example of that tweet thing of like literally no one, Nancy Pelosi. Oh, did you know he can't actually do it? Like, no, nobody. What are you talking about? How is that your addition to this conversation? And we're gonna get into the actual whether what she's saying is true and give you some reactions and all that. But Sabrina, what did you think about that as that was starting to spread yesterday on Twitter?
I mean, it doesn't surprise me that she would say something like that. I mean, she's worth like what, over $100 million?
Jesus.
But yeah, she is worth quite a bit. But also, I think it was very misleading for her to even say that at all, because that's not true.
Yeah, 100%. Like we'll get into the politics of it and all that, but also, well, I think it's fairly clear, it's been fairly well established that here at the Damage Report, we don't like when people I almost swore, when people lie to you about stuff like that. I like it less when they're Democrats, actually. So let's run through a bit of what has been said and what now needs to be said because of Nancy Pelosi, and then we'll get into the strategy of it, the tactics of it. Anyway, Biden has said for a long time that he would forgive $10,000 in student debt for all borrowers, and the rest of the debt for those who attended public colleges or historically black colleges and universities and earn less than $125,000 a year. In all, that would slash the country's $1.7 trillion outstanding student loan debt by about a third, according to some people. So that would still leave a ton, but clearly that would be a lot of help for some individuals. It's not nearly as much as what a lot of progressives have been calling for, and even people who aren't progressive. So Senator Chuck Schumer for months has been calling for $50,000 of federal student loan debt to be eliminated. He has repeatedly said that Biden can accomplish it with the flick of a pen. On Tuesday of this week, Schumer, who wore a face covering emblazoned with #cancel student debt around the Capitol, said he believed they were making progress in convincing the Biden administration to act. He said that the White House concerns about the legality of forgiving student loan debt had largely gone away. Quote, "We don't hear much of that anymore." Enter Nancy Pelosi, who chose to the next day restart the conversation. And the White House has previously said that they were reviewing whether it has the legal powers to cancel student loan debt through executive action. So that's Sabrina, that's one of the weirder things about it is like Biden has a fairly well stated position. Much of the debate so far has been how much should be eliminated. To this late in the game, try to eliminate the entire thing, add it to the stack of stuff that supposedly Congress is gonna get to when they haven't even demonstrated an ability to get the infrastructure bill through or the For the People Act. Like, where's the minimum wage increase? Like, yeah, let's just add another thing onto there. There's nothing that Biden can do himself, have no expectations on Joe Biden. That's what it feels like she's doing there.
No, I agree with you, and I just want to ask: Are you going to play the part about the right wing talking point? Because that was the most awful.
Well,
why
don't we do that?
Okay.
Yeah. Let's just get to that now. So actually, we're gonna turn that in 1 sec. I want to give you the legality, and then because that really gets into, I think, the political conversation and the tactics of it. But the issue with what Nancy Pelosi says is that it is just not generally believed that what she is saying is true. According to the founder of the Project on Predatory Student Lending at Harvard Law School, Tony Merrill, the Constitution gave Congress the authority to control property of the government like debts owed to it. And Congress, Merrill said, granted the Secretary of Education, who works for the president, the quote, specific and unrestricted authority to create and to cancel or modify debt owed under federal student loan programs. Lou Careen of Yale Law School says, basically, it's like the power that a prosecutor has to determine whether to bring charges against somebody. The prosecutor might think that a person has committed a crime, but decide not to bring a case against them for whatever reason. It's a little bit similar, actually, to the Obama administration's federal stance on marijuana crimes, saying, okay, we're not actually going to change the law, but we're not going to enforce the law. They could, in theory, do that. So again, like, I don't know where she's getting that information. My guess is her butt, but she isn't bringing sources. She wasn't ringed with lawyers who were saying this is the fact. So that definitely bothers me. And then on top of that,
please correct me if I'm wrong really quick, but I mean, during the Obama administration, they were able to like change the way that student loans work. So that way they had to like cut out the middlemen of banks. Yes. So that way it would only be more of like a government thing. So that way the government would get that money. So it's like you can change a lot when it comes to student loans. The president can. So that. Yeah.
So let's turn now to 100%. Let's turn to what you were asking about. So Nancy Pelosi wants you to believe that Biden can't cancel student loan debt, but that's not all she had to say. She also seems to think that it might be a bad idea anyway. So that's fun. Here she is trying to make that case.
that would be an attitude that people would have. But even take it on top of that, suppose your family was not, your child just decided they want to, at this time, not want to go to college, but you're paying taxes to forgive somebody else's obligations. You may not be happy about that.
Okay, so Sabrina, as you were alluding to, that is generally a talking point that we hear from the right.
Absolutely. And it does not surprise me at all, because I think that, maybe socially, Nancy Pelosi can be a little bit more progressive, but when it actually comes to, purse strings being affected, she's a little bit more conservative than people are led to believe. And the fact that she would use that specific right-wing talking point it doesn't surprise me, because, you got to say, like, yeah, for sure, people are going to be upset that their taxes are going towards somebody else that, it doesn't, like, they're not directly benefiting from it. And it's like, okay, that's what's been happening. Am I going to get a refund on all of the military jets? Am I going to get a refund on all of the drones, on the bombs? I don't love my tax money going towards that. I think we can, spare some change for college student debt.
Exactly. Yeah, it's such an on its face stupid point, because, like, yeah, nobody's like, hand me the budget. Oh, it's this. Okay, let me read it. Okay, I'm gonna read it all. No, I'm good with all this. I'm good with every. Man, you guys nailed it on the first try. Nobody actually thinks that that's a stupid thing to say. Everybody has issues with the way the federal government spends money, and the way that we deal with that is by trying to elect politicians that will change the distribution. That's most of what politics is. You would expect that the Speaker of the House would be familiar with that process. And here's the thing, it's not even that she's 100% wrong that some people would have a problem with it. Every time I've ever tweeted about student loan debt cancellation, some people are like, hey, I paid off mine. Okay, I get that. Thank you for, again, it's like sort of posting your L's. That's a bad thing about you, that it would bother you that someone else gets help that you no longer need. It's like, hey doctor, why are you stitching their wound closed? I'm not bleeding anymore. What the hell is wrong with you? Why is this one area where we carve out, like, aggressive, bombastic selfishness is supposed to be a morally superior position? Okay, so you have this approach to student loan debt. That's a bad thing about you. There's still time to change. I hope that you evolve. That's my only response when someone says something like that.
It's weird how they want other people to suffer like they did. And also, those people who have now paid off their student loan debt, I imagine, are a little bit older. College has gotten so much more expensive since then. Maybe your student loan debt wasn't as bad before. And again, I'm sorry that happened, that it had to be so much. But I mean, yeah, you shouldn't want people to suffer just because you suffered.
That doesn't seem like it should need to be said, but clearly it does need to be said. Drink That OJ on Twitch says, I paid off 140K in student loans and I still support forgiving all student loan debt. Look, I can say for me personally, I did not have $140,000. I have paid off all of my student loan debt. And I would not for a second try to stop other people from being relieved of the burden that I had to clear myself. That is a crazy thing to say. And by the way, let's have that debate. How about that? Let's have another sort of debate too, because when she says the president can't do it, she's speaking with confidence about something that is not established. But I get that even Biden isn't sure, I suppose. Here's the thing. If let's say that you're wrong or someone might challenge it. Okay, so here's what you could do in theory. You could do it, you could cancel the student loan debt, and you could have someone challenge it. You could have, I don't know, Kevin McCarthy, you could have Mitch McConnell try to stop it in court. And probably somebody would try to do that. And then you know what we could have? We could have a national conversation about how Joe Biden and the Democrats are trying to help people who are suffering, and the Republicans are desperately trying to give them their debts. Biden has taken the burden, taken your debt, and Mitch McConnell is trying to put it back on top of your shoulders. Let's have that conversation between now and the midterms. How about that? But no, rather than actually adjudicate it publicly and let the American people know where the two sides stand, they do it secretly behind closed doors. Or another way of looking at it is, instead of having a difference in the stance, right now there is no difference. Neither side is trying to relieve the crushing financial burden of your student loan debt. So it just, morally, it's abhorrent. Strategically, it's stupid. Legally, it isn't true at all. She's wrong in all 3 out of 3. Great job, Nancy Pelosi. Any final thoughts, Sabrina?
Yeah, super disappointed in Nancy Pelosi. I totally think we need to, eliminate student loan debt and make, college for free. And if her issue is like supposedly working class people don't want to be paying college for, others, then maybe we change how that's funded. Maybe we look at like the College for All Act that Bernie Sanders had written years ago about, making Wall Street and like putting taxes on Wall Street, like on like speculation and stuff to fund this, because then she wouldn't be able to have that argument anymore, because her party is supposed to be the class of working class people, and that's who she's trying to appeal to when she says that. But that wouldn't be an issue if we could just change how this is structured, how we get those taxes to fund for these things.
100%. Yeah, 100%. These are all conversations that I would love for us to actually be having publicly and have politicians with different sides on it. Anyway, let's go to something super fast, sort of related to this. It unfortunately isn't that often that the federal government really goes out of its way to spend money to help regular people. We would like them to do that because we believe that would relieve a lot of suffering. It would make the country stronger. And now we have more evidence that that is true, because for once the federal government did actually try to help people in several different spurts. They did COVID aid that came in a number of different forms. What effect did that have? Well, the huge increase in government aid prompted by the pandemic cut poverty nearly in half this year from pre-pandemic levels and pushed the share of Americans in poverty to the lowest level on record. The decline in poverty, by the way, you can see in this chart, is 3 times higher than the previous record. And dentists don't want you to know about this one secret trick, but all it took was actually investing in poor people, like trying to relieve their suffering, whether through direct stimulus, whether through unemployment insurance, whether through increased spending on things like food stamps and those sorts of things. What do you know? It actually helped out. And what I love about this, Sabrina, is we have been, like, I was gonna say we've been through multiple cycles of this. Several of the cycles I'm thinking of were before you were born, but we've been through multiple cycles of, let's do these massive tax cuts, and it's gonna be totally cool because we're gonna do it for the rich, and then it's gonna like trickle down. It's gonna be totally cool. You're gonna love it. I know. It's never actually worked in practice, but we should do it anyway. Well, here's the thing. It actually worked. They gave money to poor people and they're less poor. Shouldn't an experiment actually working like convince people at least somewhat as much as a whole bunch of failed experiments that never accomplished what they were stated to do? So anyway, it's certainly a good result though. What do you think of this?
No, I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, because of all of like the COVID aid that people received this last year, but also the rent moratoriums that were enacted in lots of places, I think had a huge impact on people. But obviously it's temporary, because at the end of the moratoriums, that rent needs to be paid back. And that used to be people's biggest expense. So now that courts are opening back up, people are getting evicted. So I don't think that this is going to last very long. Obviously, a lot of like the COVID aid programs are also getting cut short. All the while, these big companies were accepting these loans, these PPP loans, and they still, laid off all of these workers, and they're not hiring people back right now. And that's, I don't know how much longer this is gonna last. Although, at least in regards to like jobs, I think that we might see slight wage increases, because now, since people would rather stay home and be safe, and they're not accepting these low wages anymore. So I think maybe poverty won't like go back to how it was before, but I do at least think that increased wages, because they're going to have to go up. They're going to need workers. They're going to stay short staffed. I think that will at least positively impact the poverty levels in the coming years, but I think expenses like rent are still going to keep people down.
Yeah, it's entirely possible, and it's one of the reasons I want to talk about this is that a lot of these measures were temporary. Even in the articles, sort of like giving credit to the Biden administration, they also point out a lot of this is going to go away, but it doesn't have to. What if the American people got a taste for, oh wait, actually like some of the aid can come to people like me. It doesn't just have to go to, like artificially boosting the profitability of oil companies, defense contractors, and ever decreasing the share of taxes that are paid by corporations and the wealthy. You mean like you can actually spend on me? Yeah, in theory they could. The only thing so far that's supposed to last is gonna be the child tax credit, which is a part of this. But other things could be done. I would love for the Democrats to actually take some lessons from this. This stuff is both possible and popular. Like those are the two things you need in politics. You got both. For some reason, you're not gonna run it. I wonder why. I think we can probably figure that out. But anyway, so some good results we will see. You mentioned really fast as one final point. You mentioned the eviction moratorium. So that is due to end in less than 3 days. This morning, Biden said he called on them to extend it. We'll see if they do that. He certainly waited until the last moment. It is incredibly consequential. The fates of millions rest on that. So we'll be waiting to find out what happens. In any event,
he's really kicking the can down the road, though. I mean, you can keep extending this, but a lot of landlords are still expecting people to pay back each month that they missed, and nobody's going to have that. You're just kicking the can down the road. You need to really forgive the rent that people missed, or come up with other housing alternatives for people, because it's going to be bad.
Yeah, exactly. Like just adding more and more to what a person owes if you don't give them additional means or reduce it. Yeah, you're totally right. At least in the short term, kicking the can down the road at least keeps people off the streets at least. But you're totally right. It's not a permanent solution. Okay, we are gonna have to take our first break, but when we come back, we'll be talking about the infrastructure bill and some of the people who are trying to destroy the entire process. Hey, what do you know? We found people on both sides of the aisle, so that's fun. We'll be back after this. Okay, everybody, thank you for being here. John Howell over on YouTube became a tier 3 member. Do you know what that means? It means that John Howell will be able to participate in our live Q&A, which is coming up in just an hour and 38 minutes. So look forward to talking with you, John. And if you can't be there live, of course, we also post these for tier 3 members. So that'll be there too. Beast Boar became a tier 2 member, getting access to our weekly top 10 list. By the way, Sabrina, way back a couple months ago, Francesca and I did a top 10 things we'd really prefer our tax dollars don't go towards. So we anticipated the Nancy Pelosi thing ahead of time. Anyway, George Krokowski says, welcome back, Tinkerbell Dragon. Is that what we landed on? I don't remember.
Is that it? I've heard a few. I didn't know we settled on one, but I'll take it.
Okay, well, we'll see. But it's up to you, you choose. Lord of the Rings says, even if Pelosi was right, okay, delay the student loan payments for 10,000 years. Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't find the comments again, but there was someone on Twitch that said, I took out $20,000 as student loan debt. I've paid $20,000. I owe $20,000. The system sucks. Yeah, that's totally true. Like I get that, they have to make interest or they won't give like the money out if you're talking about private companies, but I feel like they're making more than they're really doing. I don't know. Anyway, and by the way, a bunch of people are saying, what's with John's shirt? It's just a shirt. You guys said you wanted me to not just wear black, so I tried to give you what you want, but you're making it impossible. Anyway. Doomslayer Dragon says, you can hear her stumbling over words to find an excuse. Just come out and say, I'm rich enough to not have to empathize with you, so no. Yeah, to come, like we're so many months into his administration, and now she's like, well, I don't even think he can do it. Thank you, speaker. Do less speakering, please. You're not helpful. Captain Pollywog Vanderbeef says, she's so out of touch. Give me her $50,000 fridge and I can pay off my student loan debt. Thanks, a peasant. Yeah, Jesus. Franklin Sharpslicer says, Groucho Marx and Pelosi says, whatever it is, I'm against it. I don't care what commenced, I'm against it. I like reminded, maybe note, remember debtors also vote. Sabrina Dragon, welcome back. Yes, it's not just that she's wrong on student loan debt, but like I would want them to at least be sort of coldly pragmatic. If you are gonna screw us over on the infrastructure deal, if you're gonna screw us over on climate change, if you're gonna screw us over on voting rights, you're gonna screw us in all these different ways, can you at least give us a tip? Like a little bit of student loan debt cancellation? Like just pragmatically, that would buy you some goodwill that you don't have right now, but they're not even doing it for that reason. Okay, we are running low on time, but here comes the Tony. Subscribe for 10 months on Twitch. Says it's my 40th birthday. Thank you for the past 10 months. Thank you for being here for 10 months, Tony. We appreciate you being a part of the community. Z Huddle gifted 3 tier 1 subs, much appreciated. Metal Kitty Mom gifted 10. Thank you so much. Wasabi Dragon gifted 4. BC Trumpet gifted 5. So I don't know, Sabrina, how close we are to the 1,000 gifted subs that will get me to dye my hair purple. But I think that we're inching our way towards it. Anyway, you can go to her Twitter account for that.
Yeah, we need 1,000 gift subs. Everybody, drop them in YouTube, drop them in Twitch, and we will get John some purple hair. We can match. We could be twinsies.
I think you might have just stopped us from getting any gifted subs because I don't know if anybody wants to see that, but we'll see.
Oh, I think they do.
I once dyed. I've dyed my hair. I dyed it in high school. I had a friend dye it like pitch black. Like they've tried to make like the blackest paint ever, and I found a way to make. I really thought that we had 30 seconds. That's. I was so into the conversation, didn't even realize. Anyway, hey everybody, we're back on the news side of things. So thank you for being here. Tune into the next break to find out what happened with my hair. Anyway, with that, why don't we jump into the next story. Yesterday, the Senate voted to advance the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. So just to be clear, if you've been following this process, that's the bad one. It's the small one that only does like the absolute bare minimum, and even while doing it, privatizes a bunch of stuff that's currently public. So it's not good. But anyway, that deal still faces several obstacles to becoming law, including being turned into formal legislative text, which by the way, like let me translate that for you, means actually writing the bill. It's just an agreement. It's like a loose structure, a framework. Anyway, it also has to clear final votes in the closely divided Senate and House. So we know that Mitch McConnell this morning was saying, I want an open process with lots of votes on amendments. Yes, because he was very big on giving the opposing side a whole bunch of time to change bills when he was in control of the Senate low those months ago. But anyway, Sabrina, what we have so far, at least according to our most recent understanding of that bipartisan bill, is that it includes $110 billion for roads, bridges, and major projects, $66 billion for passenger and freight rail, $39 billion for public transit, $65 billion for broadband, down from the $100 billion that Biden had recently talked about, $17 billion for ports and waterways, and $46 billion to help states and cities prepare for droughts, wildfires, flooding, and other consequences of climate change, according to a White House official who detailed it on the condition of anonymity. So that's like less than 5% of the bills on climate change.
Yeah, I was about to say that's kind of a little bit. I mean, just this last year, I mean, the skies were orange for like a week, less than a year ago. And it was like less than 5%? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, so people are asking, wait, so it passed, but it didn't pass? Well, no, they voted to advance. So now it's going to be taken up. They're going to be doing it or whatever. But we have to see, we don't know. Like, and the details right now, like we knew that this bipartisan bill wasn't going to be great in some of these areas. We knew that. We knew that it's not going to take seriously climate change or whatever. The real question is going to be, like the plan is going according to plan right now. They've got their terrible bipartisan infrastructure bill. We have to see a couple things could potentially happen. Either they do an actual good reconciliation bill that makes good on the promises that they said that it would, or they try to do a terrible one and the progressives vote it down, or they don't even do one at all. And as of right now, there's some reason, which we'll get to in a bit, to think that they might not. And then presumably the progressives would vote down not only that, but would vote down this, because remember, they're not gonna do one if they don't do the other. That was the idea the whole time. So, I mean, Sabrina, so far, the room, you're reading it, What do you think about that? Do you think they're going to end up doing both? Are they going to do one, or is nothing going to get passed in the end?
I really think nothing's going to get passed. I would hope that maybe the progressives hold out, because this does not look very good at all. But I don't know. I haven't been following with how like AOC, Rashida Tlaib. I don't know if they're for this right now. Have they said anything?
Well, they've said that mainly what they say is, well, you can have the bipartisan bill, but that is contingent on we were going to simultaneously pass. We want to make sure that the reconciliation bill is what it needs to be, and if it isn't, then we're not going to do that. That is what multiple representatives have said in the past. Is it enough to tank it? I don't know. The House is very closely split. So if all of the Republicans go against it, which they will, it should only take a few Democrats to tank it. Basically the same situation as in the Senate. So that's what they've said. The devil's going to be in the details, and so far the details look rife with devils. But we're gonna have to see. Yeah. Now, why don't we jump ahead to the next part of this? I'm gonna skip over Biden saying that what they did yesterday is proof that he's right on bipartisanship. That is very much yet to be seen, buddy. Pump the brakes, Biden, okay? Pump the Camaro's brakes. But that said, we are moving forward on the bipartisan infrastructure bill. And as we do it, who do you know? Kyrsten Sinema is up to say, well, I like this one, but this big reconciliation one that you're talking about, I'm not a fan of that. She says, I have also made clear that while I support beginning this process, I do not support a bill that costs 3.5 trillion. And in the coming months, I will work in good faith to develop this legislation with my colleagues and the administration to strengthen Arizona's economy and help Arizona's everyday families get ahead, which is always foremost on her mind. That's why she voted down the raise of the minimum wage, screwing over so many of her constituents. And I want to be clear, what she says there is, I do not support a bill that costs 3.5 trillion. What she did not say is, I don't support a bill that costs 3.5 trillion that isn't paid for, or that is paid for in one particular way that I don't like. She's just saying, I don't want it to be a big bill. I don't care how you pay for it. I'm not interested. We're not doing it. And that is the bare minimum of what some have been saying it is going to be. And if she votes against it, presumably it doesn't happen. So we've entered the most fun time of the year, Sabrina, the time where, President Sinema gets to decide what scraps the peasants get.
3.5 trillion? I don't think so.
I wondered why you'd put on your glasses. Thank you.
Yes, these are specifically my Kyrsten Sinema glasses. I feel like, especially now with the purple hair, I'm unfortunately embodying her in the worst way.
Did that make you like a bit cautious about dyeing your hair? Is it the possibility that people would think you were doing as an ode to the senator?
Yeah, I'm just such a big fan.
But anyway, she might blow this whole thing.
Well, and the thing is, now that she's actually in office, she really just seems like her priority is gaining more support from the right. I don't know how much that's going to get her. I don't know if that's going to save her come, re-election time. But yeah, she's just real wishy-washy all of a sudden now, and definitely has just changed so much. Yeah, I don't like this President Sinema at all.
I'm not a fan of her. I like her about as much as I like President Manchin, who I haven't even heard him weigh in. I'm sure he's gonna say something unbearable today. So everybody, hold on to your butts for that as well. But now people are fighting back, but we're gonna read you some statements about what Sinema is saying from some good progressives who, unfortunately, because of the way the government is set up, don't have any influence over her because they're in the House, not in the Senate. So they can't like override or vote or anything. But Representative Ocasio-Cortez said, good luck tanking your own party's investment on childcare, climate action, and infrastructure while presuming you'll survive a 3-vote House margin, especially after choosing to exclude members of color from negotiations and calling that a bipartisan accomplishment. So I believe the entire group in the Senate that was involved in that was white. So she's implying there, again, we can tank this just as readily as you can. The issue with that is, and it's unfortunate because obviously I like Representative Ocasio-Cortez, is that again, like always in politics, this is asymmetric warfare. Sinema can tank it in the Senate. They can tank it in the House, but that isn't equal because one side wants things to be done and the other side doesn't really care. So yeah, you can both stop the process, but you don't want the process to stop. She doesn't care what happens or if nothing happens. She's perfectly fine with it. So the joke is unfortunately on Representative Ocasio-Cortez there. But finally, Rashida Tlaib says, Representative Tlaib says, Sinema seems not to care that her own state is flooding, the West is burning, and infrastructure around the country is crumbling. Sinema is more interested in gaining GOP friends and blocking much needed resources than fighting for her residents' future. And she links to an article about a 4-year-old who was missing after a flash flood in Arizona. So I don't know, Sabrina, what do you think about their points there? Any chance they'll be effective on the senator?
Well, their points, no, but I hope that at least like her constituents will recognize that she's just kind of a bit of a phony and that she does not care about, their own interests. So I would hope that, she doesn't stick around for too long.
Yeah. That's all I hope. I hope. Yeah, and it's a reminder, by the way, regardless of what happens, and like you predicted that nothing would pass. I am feeling more like that each day. It is a reminder that like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, we on the left need to fight every battle all the time. That's what we have to do. We have to defeat we have to primary everyone. We have to win all the general elections. I know some people would say, well, look, she sucks and the progressives aren't going to be able to prevail. So what you should do is just give up, just back off the whole thing. Well, I don't understand how that gets Sinema out of office or gets someone worse to beat her or whatever. Yeah, she's another person that we need to beat, and we need to beat Manchin, we need to beat Tester, and we need to beat Warner, we need to beat all of them, unfortunately. But that is unfortunately the only path that actually gets us to where we need to be. We can want stuff, wishing accomplishes few things, though. Anyway, let's very briefly touch base on another thing that might tank this. In addition to Kyrsten Sinema, who might lead to this infrastructure bill getting absolutely nowhere, you also have a Republican lurking in the shadows and trying to influence the process. This is Donald Trump, who apparently is sad that they have advanced to the bipartisan infrastructure bill being taken up in the Senate, but that does not mean that his opposition to it is done or that the bill will actually pass. So he has been trying to lobby them, sometimes in public with statements, sometimes we were finding out anonymously, like he's doing it behind the scenes. We don't know exactly what he's saying, but his aides say that his opposition is based on the merits. At a time of fear around inflation, he opposes additional spending and believes the framework of the potential compromise is far too tilted towards environmentally conscious projects and not hard infrastructure. That is poppycock, as they might have said at one point. He didn't read it. He doesn't know what the split is. He doesn't know. Yeah, he's like, I don't like the too much on climate resiliency. I don't like that. I would lower that by 10%. Come on, Sabrina, who thinks that that's why he's trying to destroy this thing?
No, yeah, I don't think anybody believes that or believes that he's competent enough to even actually change or read any of that. I'm all with you there.
Yeah, no, it's not true. Like, and once you like talk to either him or his aides about it, it becomes clear that that's not really what it's about. One Trump aide said they had 4 years to do an infrastructure deal with someone who knows infrastructure and actually builds buildings. I'm just speaking for myself. He hasn't said, oh, they should have done it with me. But if they actually wanted infrastructure, they would have done it when President Trump was in there. Okay, so it's personal. Like it could be the exact same bill. He just wants to be the one who passed it because he knows building. He doesn't know anything about building. His name has been slapped on a few things that other people have built. That has been his contribution for the past couple of decades. And even if he built a hotel once, what does that have to do with like revamping the interstate highway system or building high-speed rail or renovating bridges and dams? When has he ever done any of that? Shut up with your nonsense. This is just personal. But look, we can diagnose why he might be against it. What's important for now is that he is against it. So my question for you, Sabrina, is there were 17 Republicans who supported advancing the process and taking up the bill in the Senate, implying that there are not only enough Republicans to potentially pass it, but they could even lose some and still pass it if they're being honest. Are they gonna have the 17? Is it possible that between now and when the vote is gonna happen, Trump can pressure enough of them that maybe it doesn't come down to Sinema? Maybe the Republicans don't actually support this thing in the end.
I don't know how much Trump pressure will affect anything. I think that maybe now that like he's out of office, I wonder how much influence he still has on conservative like politicians. I don't know how much pressure he would even add.
Yeah, that's a good question. We almost did a story today about one of the people he supported in primary in Texas this week lost. Well, we might cover that tomorrow on the show. So yeah, there are some reasons to believe potentially that his ability to influence them is beginning to wane. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But what I want the audience to know is that there are a lot of potential roadblocks still. Some of them are literally in the room doing the negotiating, people like Kyrsten Sinema, and some are like Donald Trump, who just they don't want Biden to be seen to have a win. Even if the bill is far smaller than he said it would be, more limited, all of that, it still could be presented as a win, and they don't want that. Okay, with that, we are gonna go to our second break though. When we come back, some people getting vaccinated in secret. We'll break down why and how that's working after this. Okay, everybody, what's going on out there? Well, Bob Goodall with a big super chat saying $50 for purple hair. I don't know, Sabrina, if that's because they liked your hair or that's to get us towards me dyeing my hair. I don't know.
No, they were supposed to do gift subs. I mean, the $50 definitely will take it, but we need 1,000 gift subs.
Okay, we're gonna count that as 10 gift subs. How about that? That's usually how that works out money-wise.
That's good math.
By the way, then Todd G with a very large super chat saying, "This for having Sabrina back, love her."
Aww.
That was very nice. Thank you, Todd G. We love having Sabrina on as well. Speaking of gift subs, oh wait, I didn't see the comment at first. Okay, so in Twitch, I believe it's Ganichineg gifted 50 tier 1 subs and then says, "Your move, John." Oh damn.
Oh my God.
That's a lot. I don't know.
How close are we to 1,000 now?
We're closer. That's not, we're still far off, but that was very nice. Thank you. That's about as much as I've ever seen gifted any one time. That's Obi Mom territory.
Amazing.
Well, thank you very much for that. I really don't think you people want me to dye my hair purple though. I don't. Here's the joke is on you if I do though, because how long do you think my hair lasts in the wild? How long do you think it actually lives? It's basically like a mosquito. It's got a couple weeks at most. But anyway,
what is that like? Is that like an inch long? If that, it's pretty short.
I mean, I'm about to cut it honestly, but it's it's less than an inch on the sides.
You're gonna cut that? What are they gonna cut?
It's starting to. You don't know my life. Like if my hair, like when I used to, like headphones can leave a crease. When I used to ride motorcycles, the helmet would like mat it down. So I got used to having my hair so short that reality couldn't touch it. Well, anyway, we'll see.
Okay, that makes sense.
Anyway, to finish the story from earlier, I got a friend dye my hair black. It was the blackest thing that has ever existed, blacker than a black hole. And she dyed not only the hair, but dyed quite a bit of my scalp along the edges. We tried to get it off using a combination of abrasion with a towel and bleach. And we did those in the wrong order, so I got chemical burns and then went to school with the darkest hair imaginable. It wasn't good. Are you surprised to find out that I wasn't cool in high school?
I am surprised to find that out, but also I'm just thinking black hair dye and then bleach, like that bleach wasn't gonna do anything for you, but give you a chemical burn. Ow.
Yeah, that wasn't good. No, that wasn't good at all. Alex the Bait gifted 5 tier 1 subs as well. This is starting to spread. Funky Pug gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Nemo gifted 10 tier 1 subs. Bohemian Dragon gifted a tier 1 sub. Daisy Dragon gifted 2 tier 1 subs. Maria Hall gifted a tier 1 sub. Alex the Bait gifted 5 more tier 1 subs.
Oh my God.
There's too many of these. Metal Kitty gifted 10, thank you. Rob Lobster gifted 1. Simul and the Kind Dragon gifted 5. Kodiak Draco gifted 5. Juro gifted 5.
Purple hair.
Purple
hair.
Oh no, you're gonna have to tell me what your color is because I gotta make it match if I'm gonna do this. I might do it very briefly because you're all being very nice and very supportive, but the joke is not on me, it is on you. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it so much.
No, we're gonna love it.
Well, we'll see, we'll see. Anyway, we got more news, we'll be back after this. Okay, the Twitch chat, Mapwa says, all the hair, including your beard. No, I don't live in Bravos or whatever in Game of Thrones. I'm not tying my beard hair. Anyway, thank you everybody for being here. It's me and Sabrina. We're having a lot of fun and we got a couple more stories for you. But after that, there's so much coming up, including our tier 3 member Q&A, which is coming at noon Pacific. You've got Indisputable with Rashad Ritchie and Dan Evans. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Also coming up on Saturday, July 31st, you got to get out the vote rally for Nina Turner. Cenk Uygur is going to be doing live commentary starting at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. It is like go time for Nina Turner. Bernie Sanders is heading to go help her get out the vote. AOC was there recently. They are going up against millions of dollars that are being spent to attack Nina Turner, which is all the proof you should need that they don't want her in office. Why do you think that is? Because she might be effective in advocating for her values. So anyway, we're gonna be tracking that. It's gonna be live, you can watch it. And with that said, let's get into a couple more stories. There's a big problem of not nearly enough people getting vaccinated, but there's a potential solution, at least for a few, to face the social pressure to not get vaccinated. Some are doing it in secret. Let's jump to this video.
Closely with our pharmacists who are leading our vaccine efforts through our organization. And one of them told me the other day that they've had several people come in to get vaccinated who have tried to sort of disguise their appearance and even went so far as to say, please, please, please don't let anybody know that I got this vaccine. I don't want my friends to know, but I don't want to get COVID. I want to get the vaccine. But they're very concerned about how their people that they love within their family and within their friendship circles and their work circles are going to react if they find out that they got the vaccine.
I guess I shouldn't be surprised, Sabrina. We know about how much pressure there is out there. What do you think about this as a solution?
I think it's a great solution. I mean, it makes me sad. It genuinely makes me sad for these people that they are so scared to talk to their loved ones and their family members or their social groups that about them getting the vaccine. It's that sucks. That's a lot of influence. And people in like maybe more Midwest rural areas, they do have to consider their actions and how it impacts their tiny little community. So I think it's a great idea. I think if that's what it's gonna take to get more people vaccinated, I'm all for it.
Yeah, maybe. What sucks about it is like it is bad enough that you would open yourself up to getting the virus. It's obviously worse that you would try to put social pressure on people, especially people who are in your family, like people who love you and you're supposed to love them, that you would try to pressure them to do that. But then on top of it, to then say, don't get vaccinated because that's being a sheep, instead bow down to my pressure. So that's a weird thing where you're like, you're trying to make people conform by pretending that it's the opposite of conformity. But then on top of that, one of the most insidious lies that's been told about the vaccine is, and I don't know if Sabrina, if you've seen this, the concept of shedding. Have you seen this?
What?
I worry about shedding too. All of my clothes are covered with dog fur. But no, they say that if you get the vaccine, you can shed vaccine stuff that gets other people sick around you. So think about the mental gymnastics necessary for that. So you going out and protecting yourself from a virus isn't you protecting you, it's you endangering me. And you say that I'm being dumb because I won't protect myself from germs. No, I am the invisible vaccine shedding germs. It is such like an attempt to contort reality It's basically gerrymandering reality. It's this weird shape you've made everything into so that you can feel like you're still intelligent.
This is the weirdest game of 3D chess that they're trying to play, and it does not make sense at all. Yeah, that's just,
I don't like it.
That's confusing and sad, and it's weird because nobody made this big of a deal about like previous vaccines that are necessary for like school or jobs or traveling to certain areas. I mean, maybe some mom groups in Orange County brought back measles or something, but I mean, like, yeah, it's so polarized, like you said.
Yeah, God, it's just the worst. And look, if you're in an area and you're feeling this pressure, I totally get it. Like the thing is, you can get vaccinated and your family never needs to know. It's sad. I wish that you could feel free to try to get them to be vaccinated because that is an act of love. But if you can't do that, I don't want anyone's life to be any more difficult than it already is. Go get vaccinated in secret, honestly. I think that's totally fine. Yeah, I hope that it becomes the new thing. I don't know. Can we make a TikTok and get more people to do that? I don't know. Anyway, and by the way, this is a new version of, we'd already, I think previously talked about this, if we could jump ahead. Defiant teenagers have been trying to get around their parents trying to stop them from being vaccinated. That's been a thing for a little bit as well. So yeah, ugh. Anyway, I think we have a little bit more video actually of Anderson Cooper talking to Dr. Fraze, who was in that first video about this.
A lot of them have had, the few that I've been able to personally talk to, they've had some experience that sort of changed their mind from the viewpoint of those in their family, those in their friendship circles or their work circles. And they came to their own decision that they wanted to get a vaccine, they did their own research on it, and they talked to people and made the decisions themselves. But even though they were able to make that decision themselves, they didn't want to have to deal with the peer pressure or the outburst from other people about them, quote, giving in to everything. They made a decision for themselves and they wanted it just to be for themselves.
Yeah, I get it. Look, I sometimes poo-poo people who are like, they're like I'm doing the research, I'm talking to doctors, I'm really trying to figure out. I don't think that it should take like 2 months. But look, if you actually do that and in the end you end up getting it, okay, good. If that got you there, try to expedite the process though, because there are a lot of cases going around out there. Any final thoughts, Sabrina?
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe that part either, because they say that, they're doing the research and they're taking the time, but we have seen the positive effects of the vaccine since people started getting it like at the end of last year. It works. What more do you need?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think you should need anything else. If you do though, I did see someone on Twitch said it's like free walk-ins at Walgreens, also $2 Arizona iced tea. So you get vaccinated, you get yourself an iced tea. It's really cheap. That seems like a pretty good deal. Anyway, we are running very low on time, so really fast, let's jump to our last story. Yesterday, we told you about the walkout at Activision Blizzard. A number of different employees protesting the working conditions there that have been the source of a new lawsuit against the company, alleging a sort of persistent multi-year frat boy-like environment that's been created there. And one of the details that we just found out about is about the worst. So let's bring up this picture and we'll tell you about the Cosby room. So supposedly at BlizzCons for a number of different years, one of the workers there had one of the developers had a hotel suite that they had named after Bill Cosby. It was being described as a hot spot for informal networking at BlizzCon, where people looking to make inroads with the company would go to meet and hang out with some of its top designers. The original intent wasn't sexual, they say, saying it was a reference to Bill Cosby's iconic ugly sweaters. But at that point, Cosby already faced multiple sexual assault accusations, and other sources apparently understood it as a reference to them. So they can say that that's not what it was about. It is clear that it seems to have been. So this is just one of the details, Sabrina, and we've talked about a lot, but it's a sort of weird thing for professionals to name a room after.
Yeah, it's weird, and I don't believe them at all when they're saying that, oh, well, it's the sweaters. Come on. And especially like the gaming industry culture itself has been very toxic and bro-y and usually at the expense of like other female workers, where even before the Bill Cosby thing, female workers in the gaming industry have been complaining about this culture that like results in their own sexual harassment and different wages for the same work. This has been a consistent issue in this industry.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad that not only the current workers are supporting this lawsuit, that is great and much needed, but that there was that letter going around of more than 3,000 current and former workers. We talked about that there was that coordinated logout someone told us about on European servers. Sometimes when you have an entire industry with problems, you need a moment to sort of crystallize it, to organize people around, and perhaps this can be that. I mean, Activision Blizzard is, it's a very important studio. It draws a lot of attention. I've seen some people like, so Ashley Birch is one of the writers and actors on Mythic Quest, which is one of the most high-profile TV shows about the gaming industry, talking about this. It's becoming a more high-profile thing. And considering that, like, you've got your Cosby rooms and all that insane stuff, then you also have just a lot of women who will never be promoted and will never make as much money as other men and all of that. This is an industry. It's terrible for them. It's terrible at large, and something needs to be done. So hopefully this lawsuit will be successful, that people will stay in solidarity with them. That's what I'm hoping for.
I hope so too.
Any other thoughts? Yeah.
No, I agree. Stand in solidarity with them.
Yeah. Okay, so we have very little time, but I do want to let you know, I am seeing what's going on in the chat. We're gonna talk about it perhaps after our next break. Things have been moving fast in the sub donation realm. So yes, am I getting a little bit concerned, a little bit nervous? Perhaps I am.
Purple hair. Purple hair.
Oh God, I barely have hair now. Do I really need to draw more attention to it? But anyway. For now, though, we are gonna have to end. So if you're watching on one of our linear platforms on the Skinny Bundles, thank you so much for watching. We do still have nearly another half an hour coming for those of you watching on the members app on Twitch and on YouTube, in which we're gonna be talking about DaBaby. I've been waiting to talk about DaBaby for a long time. Finally, we have an excuse. We're gonna be talking about Disney. We're gonna be talking about Josh Hawley and how he just wants you to love America more. Isn't that gonna be fun? So we'll have all that for you. And a little bit more updates about some of the TYT content that's coming up soon. So with that, we're gonna take a couple minute break, but we'll be right back after this. Okay, welcome back, everybody. How's it going? It's me and Sabrina. Sabrina, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really good. I hear that you might get purple hair soon, so I'm excited to be twinsies.
I asked you that to try to change the subject. You immediately brought it back on there. Okay, so look, we have been watching, and there's been a lot of gifts of it. So I'm a little bit nervous about that. Let me give people some credit. First of all, Hottie Meter gifted 100 tier 1 subs, which I didn't know you could do, but apparently you can.
I didn't know either.
Hottie Meter, obviously, thank you so much. That is crazy supportive. That is 10% of the whole goal in one go. Yeetwood Mac gifted 5. Metal Kitty Mom gifted 20 after gifting more before. Obi-Wan Kenobi gifted 5. 420 Mama gifted 5. Pickle Hippie gifted 5. Lincoln Isaac gifted 5. Thunderous Dragon gifted 1. Octo Squiddies gifted 1. Dragon 07 gifted 1. Mayhem Farkham gifted 5. Similin the Kind Dragon gifted 25. Jesus. Maria Hall DK gifted 5. Kathleen gifted 10. Jay's gifted 10. These are adding up quickly. Depressed Progressive and my As Is Dragon both gifted 10. Okay, we will return to more in a little bit. There's Jesus, what the hell?
Wow.
So okay, so here's what's gonna happen, people.
Purple hair.
We're gonna assess afterward and see what might need to be done to close it out maybe on tomorrow's show. But wait, Hottie Meter gifted 100 subs twice?
What?
I only saw it once in here. Is that true?
No way.
Jeez, Hottie Meter. The Hottie Meter has broken. It's gone to 11. Jeez. Okay, I'm a little bit worried that this is gonna actually happen, but we're gonna do a count. Thank you to everybody who's supporting it. You're gonna hate it. Oh my, what the hell?
Oh my gosh! It looks great. It looks great.
Do I have to shave my facial hair then? Because that's not gonna look right. We've never seen Sabrina with a beard, so. Oh God.
If you want to.
Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see. Oh geez. Oh God. By the way, a super chat just came in. $50 super chat. Purple hair. Money donated from Mother's Estate from Moondragon. She loved you. Thank you. Thank you. That's much appreciated. Thank you so much. Oh geez. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon says Ira Stephen Bear of DS9 dyed his beard blue. Let's see Dragon Daddy with a purple beard. Shreep. I don't know what that means, but I'm getting worried now. Kathy says, I'm coloring my hair purple on this coming Saturday. What do you know? Let's see. Lena Peak says, hey, Lena says, currently in St. Louis for year 2 of grad school, and all I want to see is my peers and profs in person. Missourians need to get their S together. Yeah, Missouri is about as hard hit as anywhere. That's rough. Mike says, purple hair sung to the tune of Purple Rain. Andrew wants the beard purple too. Diana says, I recommend overtone colored conditioner in purple for brown hair. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, one other comment, not about my hair. Jessica says, just joining now. Will you be covering the West Virginia coal miners strike if you haven't yet? Strikers have been injured and there's hardly any national coverage. So we have a couple of times already. We'll check in. We covered both, there was a strike of a car against some of them. And then we covered when they were in New York as well. We'll be talking more about it. Oh geez, okay, I'm getting a little bit worried about this. Anyway, we're gonna find out what happens. But before that, let's talk about a little bit more news. Let's jump right into this.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks. Put a cell phone light in the air.
Okay, so that is video that you saw of rapper DaBaby at a performance stigmatizing people who had HIV, AIDS. It's generated a lot of controversy over the past 48 hours or so. There have been, people involved with him, which we'll get to, that are sort of denouncing the comments. After that performance, I don't know, maybe that was like he just said it off the cuff or whatever. Went on to say on Twitter, anybody who done ever been affected by AIDS, HIV, y'all got the right to be upset. What I said was insensitive, even though I have no intentions on offending anybody. So my apologies. But the LGBT community, I ain't tripping on y'all, do you? Y'all business is y'all's business. So Sabrina, I don't know if that was, I guess it was intended as an apology because the word apology is in it, but it seemed kind of more like a doubling down than an apology.
Yeah, it's like his PR person saw that video the next morning. I was just like, oh, no, you've got to apologize on Twitter. And he's like, okay. And then whipped that out. Yeah, and it's one thing when, celebrities are caught saying like homophobic, vile stuff like that, like in secret. But it is stupefying when they say it into a microphone.
In a crowded place.
Yeah.
To be cool. Like, yeah, you guys are fans of me. Y'all like me. Well, and you'll love this. Jeez. Yeah, I don't understand it. What's interesting is that yeah, like I want to give you what Dua Lipa said about it, because like I don't know if anybody in the audience expected something to be said like that. I don't know if he's ever said anything in this vein before. You're gonna be shocked to find out that me, as a person who doesn't really follow music, had never heard of this person before this. But Dua Lipa had said, "I'm surprised and horrified at DaBaby's comments. I really don't recognize this as the person I worked with. I know my fans know where my heart lies, and I stand 100% with the LGBTQ community. We need to come together to fight the stigma and ignorance around HIV/AIDS." That's a great comment, obviously. And it's entirely possible that she had never heard this person say this, because I can't see how, when you just go in the studio to collaborate with someone, it would come up in the same way that I can't see how when you're standing on stage, it would come up. It's so weird. It's like the video we played on the main show of the white woman who was drunk, talking to a black man, telling him that he needs to like keep black women under control. How is any of this, like, first of all, how are you thinking it? But how are you saying any of this? How is any of this coming out in any of the context, knowing that you're in public? He knew he was being filmed. I don't know, Sabrina, how does any of this happen?
I don't know. I want to know what he was saying that even led to that at all. What does that have to do with your performance? And also, how did you get that information? Like, not only was it, just outright homophobic, but it was wrong information. It was very misleading, and you're gonna freak out a lot of people if you say, "Oh, you're gonna die in a few weeks." Like, no. What?
Yeah.
What?
You're totally right. It's total misinformation. It's stigmatizing. I'm gonna give you a comment by another artist. Elton John said, "We've been shocked to read about the HIV misinformation and homophobic statements made at a recent DaBaby show. This fuels stigma and discrimination and is the opposite of what our world needs to fight the AIDS epidemic." It's totally true. The development as of yesterday was that Boohooman, an online fashion retailer based in the UK, had condemned what he said and said they would no longer be working with him. So look, I don't even know the extent of his collaborations in terms of music, let alone in terms of, like endorsements and things like that. It might be that this is where it ends. I would assume that there's probably going to be an updated version of an apology, because I have to imagine that his management is freaking out right now. But one's gonna have to wonder how authentic it actually is based on the original comments and his first attempt at an apology. If he comes out and says, "I was totally wrong," I don't know, Sabrina, final thoughts. Do you think that people are gonna buy it at that point?
No, I don't think they're gonna buy it. I think you're right that his management is gonna be the ones to like type out the tweet for him or something, and he will probably just be more upset that he was forced to apologize. And I feel like that's not going to help him change. And also, I need to come up with a better nickname for my dog, because I definitely call her DaBaby all the time, every day, and I need a new nickname.
I don't know why you would support that sort of thing. Yeah, that is cute. I'm just hoping that, I don't even know if this is a little rapper, but if Lil Buddy says something homophobic, that's gonna complicate my relationship with my dog. So please don't do that. Anyway, yeah, like I know, and this person, if there's a chance this rapper will end up on Fox News talking about cancel culture or whatever, but like, you're a singer, like you're under no obligations to express these antisocial views that you have. You're choosing to do that, thus you are choosing to then be judged by it. I'm sure you wouldn't have had a problem with everyone loving what you said. Well, you don't get to choose their reaction. And so they will react, and it's probably not gonna be positive, because that's a sucky position to have.
Yep.
Anyway, let's move on to very different news. Okay, here we go. Sorry, it was an abrupt transition, but yeah. Nice. I wondered where we'd go with the B-roll. We've got ducks, okay. Okay, a number of employees at Disneyland are engaged in a class action lawsuit against the company for not providing the living wage that they say they are owed. The lawsuit was filed back originally in 2019 on behalf of 5 cast members, alleging that the Walt Disney Company violated Measure L, which was approved in 2018 and requires Anaheim resort businesses that receive tax subsidies and their subcontractors to pay employees a living wage. This living wage started at $15 an hour and is going up by $1 each year until it reaches $18 in 2022. After that, raises will then be based on the cost of living index. And so they are saying that that is not what they're being paid. You can go into the details of the case as to why they say that Disney should be bound by this. It clearly seems like that was what the measure was designed to do. But they are not being paid what they feel like they're owed. And so this lawsuit is going forward. Now, our guest on the show, Sabrina, previously was one of these cast members working at Disney. So what are your thoughts about this class action lawsuit?
I am surprised that it even took this long for something like this to be filed. I mean, granted, they had to do it because, they technically violated Measure L, so they needed an excuse. But the root of the problem is that Disneyland does not pay a living wage. And this isn't a new issue. Even I worked at Disneyland in the entertainment department from 2012 to 2016. And it took me 4 years to get a $1 raise. Every year I was getting a 20-cent raise or something. And the fact that they're barely,
God.
Yeah, it was awful. And it sucks because so many people love the job. Disney is a big part of many people's lives, and then they go on to work there, and then they're okay with getting unlivable wages because they get the privilege to work for that company. And so it's a really sad cycle when you see these people are truly being exploited, and my heart definitely goes out for them because I know that there are lots of cast members who are food insecure, who are actively homeless while working at Disneyland, who sleep in their car in the Disneyland Catella parking lots. Hell, that has been my situation a few times when I worked at Disneyland too. It's really, really hard. And so I'm really, really happy that they're finally, doing something about it. But it's really late. A lot of people have suffered.
Yeah. It's crazy. We have at least a Shoegaze Dragon Georgie in the chats as ex-cast member here, and I know from experience that Disneyland does not pay a living wage. I know there's another, I won't say the name, but there's another person who watches the show that's a current employee there. You're totally right to point out. There was a report, high instances of homelessness, low wages, and food insecurity among Disneyland employees. And the brand is, everybody's happy and everything's great, and we're going to try to make that on the backs of people that might be sleeping in their car tonight. That is Disneyland is trying to evolve in some ways. I mean, they're in the process of changing the Jungle Cruise ride. They've done that in a few ways. Well, that's good. I'm glad for that. But the stuff in the background is not the only thing that needs to change. You need to evolve based on the situation of your workers who are being horribly treated. They're giving it their all. And I'm sure many of them, I can't speak for you, Sabrina, feel free to let me know, but probably go to work there because of their personal liking Disney. That's not true for a lot of workplaces, but I feel like it might be true for there. So it's even worse than to then abuse those people once they get there, when they've probably had a lifelong attachment to the brand that they're then gonna be abused by.
No, and you're absolutely right. And that's how they're able to get away, or at least the parks anyway, are able to get away with not paying their workers a living wage instead of giving them a holiday bonus for sacrificing the holiday time with their own family to work at Disneyland. Instead of getting an actual cash bonus, workers were getting discount coupons that they could only use in the parks. It was awful. And it's hard because a lot of people love it. Absolutely it is. And I'm not gonna name any names, but there are people who are lifers. They dedicated their entire lives, worked at Disneyland for decades, people in their 70s, in their 80s, and they have to have roommates because they can't afford to work at this company. They have to have college roommates. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
Disney
Blue
Pay
Lizard
Guts, 100%. Blue Lizard Guts in the chat says, I'm a former cast member and have been in a lawsuit with Disney since 2016. I wish them luck. Also, Sabrina and I were coworkers at the same time. Characters get paid the worst. Is that true that the characters actually get paid worse than other people?
Character pay is not good because in the entertainment department for sculpted characters, you are not union. So your pay raises are very bad. You only get maybe like a 20-cent to 30-cent raise a year, if that, depending on your performance. Meanwhile, you see the union cast members, such as like the singer performers get AGVA benefits and rates, and they're paid a lot better than you. And you just have to, sit in the same break room as if you're not working just as hard and you're getting paid like $10 less an hour.
Yeah. So wait, when you say sculpted, you mean people who are in the big costumes?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hard work.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not. I imagine it's really hot and it's probably very difficult, and you're probably abused and all that. For the audience, what characters did you play? Which sculpted characters did you play?
And see, that's the thing. I don't even work at this company anymore, but I still feel icky saying, "Oh, I played this character," because they made you feel like such an asshole. They pressure you to say that you're friends with. So I was friends with Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, usually Stitch, Max Goof, Roger Rabbit, anybody who was short, around 5 feet tall.
Okay, I can totally see you as Stitch. That's funny. So you were friends with, that is a weird way to put it. Anyway, okay. Did you ever play any of the unsculpted characters?
There was a brief period of time where I didn't play characters, but I taught a class to 3rd and 4th graders on California history to children as myself, and I walked them around the park. That was something. It was called the Yes program. But other than that, no. I tried staying in the sculpted character outfit most of the time because I mean it's a nice job to have. It is. It's just it's not paid well. You get to make people's day better. You give them hugs. You take pictures. You have nice magical interactions. You get to work with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's a nice job. It just doesn't pay well.
Yeah. Well, and that can be fixed, hopefully. Okay, so we are running low on time, so we're gonna do this last story, and then we're gonna check in with the chaos going on in the chat right now. This vicious assault on me. So we're gonna get to that in just a sec, but let's talk about this.
Okay.
The right has been laser focused on ending the scourge of critical race theory that is not being taught in basically any schools that your kids would go to. But they certainly want to be seen to be going up against it. And there's no one more transparent in their desire to be involved in this grift than Josh Hawley. So he's got a bill, the Love America Act, that we're gonna talk about. But first, here he is on Tucker Carlson's show.
Well, the misinformation that the left is spreading, Tucker, across our schools and to our kids, saying America is a racist country, that we're systemically evil. This is not true. This is a great nation. We're a nation of liberators. It's time to reclaim that and to teach our children who we are, who they are. And that's why my bill would say, listen, if a school district gets federal money, you've got to teach kids the basic truth about the country, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration, Pledge of Allegiance. These are the things, the documents that express the ideals that unite us as Americans. You've got to replace the lies with the truth. And that's what I'm trying to do. And at the end of the day, the left is trying to divide this nation. I mean, that's what they're doing here, they're trying to divide us. What unites us is the truth about who we are. So let's learn our history. I'm not afraid of our history. Let's teach students our history. Let's teach them to love this nation, and they'll be ready to lead this nation in the future.
Yeah, okay. So he's just really concerned about the truth. Josh Hawley has just been burning for years a passion to make sure that kids better understand the particular version of right-wing history. No, it's the thing that the right is talking about, and Josh Hawley is an empty vessel who is desperate for the right to like him. They're largely not that interested so far, but this is an attempt. Sabrina, what do you think about this, about the sort of enforced loving of America they're trying to put on kids?
even the first few seconds of that, he was talking about the liberators. Who are you liberating again? Who was here before your liberators arrive? Are they not here anymore? Gee, I wonder why. If only there was a way I could learn that. Oh wait, no, you're trying to do away with critical race theory. Like, oh my gosh, everything that he just said was
It was terrible.
You're right. No, yeah, you're right. He's just trying to appeal to right wing anything, anybody right wing. God.
Yeah, and in a very sad, transparent way. I don't think that he doesn't sell particularly well. He doesn't really care about this, and it's obviously like, I guess I'm sort of skimming over this because it should be pretty obvious, but none of this is true. Like, first of all, that's not what critical race theory is, and also neither that nor what critical race theory actually is being taught in virtually any of these schools, certainly not elementary schools. And even if that was true, like the idea that we would enforce some sort of, again, it's going to be a government approved set of propaganda talking points and narratives for little kids to consume, all under the auspices of stopping propaganda, is bizarre in its own way. And look, my point is, as I have said on Twitter recently, spend less time telling kids that they should love America and give them more reasons to love America. Like we talked earlier about how the poverty rate was cut in half. Okay, well, what if we were to eliminate it entirely? Maybe that would be a source of love for America. What if we all wore masks and got vaccinated and encouraged others to? What if we showed solidarity and concern for each other? That might be a reason to love America. So that would be my advice to Josh Hawley and to the rest of the right.
I don't know, sounds pretty socialist to me.
It does a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, okay, so we're unfortunately running out of time. So Sabrina, overall, very glad to have had you on the show. You have unfortunately unleashed a purple beast. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but thank you for being here and in particular giving us your perspective on the video game industry, because you stream about video games and your experience with Disney. It's much appreciated.
Thanks so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and your purple hair.
Thank you. Maybe we'll have you on when I unveil it if it happens. We'll see. But before then, where can people watch your streams?
Absolutely. So if you don't follow me already, you can follow me on twitch.tv/Abelina Sabrina, and same thing with YouTube, youtube.com/Abelina Sabrina.
Nice. And maybe somebody watching saw the one time I appeared on Sabrina's stream to play a ghost hunting game. Maybe someday we'll game again.
I hope so. I think Jordan was telling me something about wanting to play Phasmo again. Let's go.
Let's do it. But until then, have a good day.
Bye.
And for those of you at home, thank you so much. There's so much coming up though. We're gonna be keeping tabs on the subs. There's been a lot coming in. We're running low on time, but I will read a few. Runyon Schoolazant, Naked Crab, Diamond Joker, Ajlandi, Melissa the Defender with 20 there. Stray gifting 10, Tempo Dan, Irie Man, Runyon School multiple times. My ass is dragging again. Coupe de Jarnac, Shadow Wolf, Late Bloomer, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Kodiak Draco, Depressed Progressive again. A bunch of you have been doing it. I can't read all of them right now, but I am gonna go over this. We're gonna tally it up. I'm getting more and more worried, and we'll see. We might have a little bit more to go for tomorrow's show, but I believe, unfortunately, by the end of this week, we're gonna have to talk about me getting my hair dyed. But anyway, we'll see about that. For now, though, as we go to do that dark math, in about 34 minutes, the live Q&A for tier 3 members on YouTube is coming up, so hope to talk to you there. Before then, though, Rashad Ritchie and Dan Evans are gonna be on Indisputable. That's coming up. Ray Actions with Ray Vana is coming up on Twitch after that. So lots to look forward to, including me looking ridiculous. But until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and I'll see you soon.
Oh, it's on and popping. Good to be with you. This is Indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. We got a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day will be Dan Evans. Dan is host of Power Report. That's at Audio Face. Breaking down news of the day. And debate in the bullpen will be Satyajit Maran talking about political correctness, media regulation, and immigration. Maybe not in that order. Make sure you tune in, stick and stay for all of that. Should be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, my top story. Right-wing pastor tells his congregation, if you wear a mask, you will get kicked out of his church. Here's that video.
Don't believe this Delta variant nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. I know right-wing watching. I don't care. If they go through round 2 and you start showing up all these masks and all this nonsense, I'll ask you to leave. I will ask you to leave. I am not playing these Democrat games up in this church. If you want a social distance, go to First Baptist Church, but don't come to this one. I'm done with it. I said I'm done with it. I ain't playing these stupid games.
This is why I don't go to churches who believe in white Jesus. He is obviously the biggest Karen we've ever had on this program. He is literally telling his congregation that if you have the audacity to simply take care of your own healthcare needs, expressing your healthcare rights, then he will kick you out of his church. This guy's name is Pastor Greg Locke. He used his Sunday sermon to ridicule governmental intervention as it relates to vaccines, and the round 2 he thinks obviously is a hoax. He told his congregants do not believe in this Delta variant. Now, I'm not trying to wish any ill will upon the pastor, nor his congregation, but here's a reality, and we'll report on it when it happens. Somebody's going to die in his congregation from COVID. Yep, you'll see it. It'll happen. Don't want it to happen, and it's avoidable. But time after time again, when we've seen these individuals with extreme power over the masses, telling them what to do, how to think, and how high to jump, we have also seen disaster. We have seen families torn because they listened to their church leader and their nonsense. The Tennessee-based pastor of a church called the Global Vision Bible Church also declared he'll kick anyone out who wears a mask in church. You heard that. Let me read a quote from the church's homepage. It says, "We would like to welcome you to our church. We accept everyone just as they are, but we love you too much to let you stay that way. Come and grow with us as we seek God's will and show his love." Okay, Dan, what are your thoughts here?
I think you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, you don't wish this ill thing to happen on any people, but you've seen it over and over again. I think most recently, like over at least my part of the woods in California in Huntington Beach, there's this restaurant owner who's insistent, like totally insistent on only allowing unvaccinated people. Only allowing unvaccinated people into his restaurant. If you're vaccinated, if you're wearing a mask, he's not allowing you in his restaurant. We've gone to a full, I think it's important to remember the context. I'm a context guy. It's important to remember how we got here. It's because Donald Trump muddied the waters over, should you wear a mask? Should you not wear a mask? Does the vaccine even exist? Should we inject bleach into our veins? Like, because of all of this nonsense and because of this like party power that Donald Trump has over a significant portion of, let's be honest, a white supremacist power system in the United States, we have this muddied idea of what masks do and what masks don't, trusting the science, trusting what people say about this very real virus that has unfortunately claimed the lives of several 100,000 people in the United States, to say nothing of the countless millions worldwide who are still dying at high rates, because while they're struggling with even getting access to vaccines, we're having these nonsense arguments over, oh, I don't want to have the right to have to inject this thing that will be safer to me and my church community, my religious community. So it's complete and total like hypocrisy, but hypocrisy doesn't matter for these church-going people. people, at least like this flavor of church-going people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're great folks out there.
Right, I agree. And I want everyone to remember there is nothing else in the healthcare discussion that has been politicized as much as COVID. And think about this. Whatever you want to do health-wise with your life, nobody will kick you out of their church because of it, except as it relates to COVID-19. He's not the only pastor saying things like this. Let me shift gears because we have to lift up a story dealing with our dear sister, Simone Biles. She made a decision. Good for her. She made a decision that said, my worth, my value, my peace of mind is worth more than a competition or a gold medal. That's what she did. Following her decision to withdraw from competition for mental health concerns, she is now receiving criticism from right-wingers like, of course, Candace Owens, the biggest black white supremacist you know, and Piers Morgan, just a regular ass white supremacist. Here's what Candace said. Let's put up the tweet from Candace. Doing nothing is courage. Nothing is courage. Anyone who disagrees is a white supremacist. And then she does this repost from Seth Dillon. Simone Biles just said sitting out the big competitions shows how strong you really are. That's like saying soldiers who run away from battle are courageous. Cowardice is not courage. Weakness is not strength. Great athletes understand this. First of all, you big dummy. If you are in the US military, you have taken an oath, you are a combat soldier. If you are in combat, you have taken an oath to actually engage in that combat. I'm not a war guy, but it's not the same. You cannot conflate a voluntary competition with being in battle for the US military. And there are plenty of people in the military who ran away, to be quite honest with you. There are plenty of people who get scared. It's a human thing. This woman made a decision because of her health care. Now, this is interesting. This is actually inconsistent with Candace Owens' past. There was, remember the Osaka tweet? Let's go to it. This is Candace Owens saying that Osaka made the right decision. Mental health illness is serious, excuse me, and it is always an act of courage to step away to deal with personal issues. Emphasis on the word personal. It's becoming too fashionable for one person's experience to transform into a demand for everybody else. Wait a minute. Candace Owens is saying that making a decision about your mental health is actually a personal decision, good for that person, and then criticizing our dear sister in the Olympics because she's withdrawing from the gymnastics competition. I don't understand this. So it gets deeper. Prior to her support of Osaka, Owens initially criticized the tennis star, and what did she say? She's starting to get so annoying. Just quit tennis and become a full-time activist. You make millions and are now complaining again because you think you're a special snowflake that shouldn't have to do press conferences because they are a form of mental abuse. It's a real damn shame. Everyone from the Deputy Attorney General of Texas and others are coming at Simone Biles. I don't understand this. Dan, give me some context here, brother. What's happening?
There's multiple layers to this. I think there's an angle of racism, obviously. There's an angle of sexism here, but the main thing is mental illness. Right here, it's a lack of understanding in the United States and cultures as a whole of the impact of mental health and one's well-being. I think other gymnasts, like other athletes, were just talking about the impact of, the COVID restrictions that are happening in Tokyo, the weird feelings about the Olympics themselves, what they represent during this like tragic time in the world history, the impact of not being able to have their families there as like moral support during all these tough times. It's difficult, and it's really kind of interesting coming from Candace Owens, Owens, who, if you put yourself through the Cringe Fest, which is her interview with Joe Rogan, that infamous one, she talks about her kind of first origin story, where she was in the center of a racist incident that was directed towards her in middle or high school because of, I believe, like the mayor's son or something like that. And so she talked a lot about the mental health and trauma of that. And she also talked about the like viciousness of left wingers and things like that, and the mental illness and or the impact of her mental health there. But of course she's ready to turn on Simone Biles because that's where she collects her check. That's how she collects her money, is giving white right wingers an excuse to have their racism because they have a figurehead for that who also happens to be black. It's nonsense. It's like Larry Elder did it first, really, but like, look at us now.
Yeah, and obviously Larry Elder didn't do it the best. Candace Owens is at the top of the pile at this point. The race to the bottom belongs to Candace. There's something else happening. Young people trying to do something to make the world a better place. Black Lives Matter, okay? Great 100%. Movement has been able to transform local governments, policing as we know it, all across the United States of America, and it continues to go strong. Well, a group of young people who painted a Black Lives Matter mural on a Garden State Parkway underpass last week were told to repaint their artwork after town officials said it was inappropriate. So let me bring up the artwork first. There you have it. That's your artwork right there. Now they're saying, well, everything else is appropriate except for the fist. Let's bring it back up again. Pay attention to the fist. So the city manager had an issue with the fist, as well as some other residents and a few of the city officials. The artist, led by a recent high school graduate, May Yasa, from Clifton, had obtained permission from the city to paint the mural complete with BLM fist in the air. They had permission to do this. These are young people engaged in their community. They have permission to paint this. They saw what it was, they put it out there, it was approved, and then it was painted. It's a beautiful picture. But somehow that fist was controversial. That fist made people uncomfortable. Wait a minute, this is supposed to be a Black Lives Matter mural. And the iconic black fist pisses you off. They had to go back and paint over the fist. Now, remember, the fist represented Black Lives Matter back in the day. Let's go to 1968. During the medal ceremony in 1968, Olympic Stadium, y'all remember this. If you were living, even if you were not living, it's iconic. The fist in the air. Tommy Smith, John Carlos, each raised a black gloved fist during the playing of the US national anthem. Why? Because they were saying Black Lives Matter. They didn't have the terminology, wasn't the same phrase, but the same sentiment. Black Lives Matter. So let me take you back to this city. City manager Dominic Villano had some reservations. When we start making political statements, we're opening up a can of worms, Villano told NJ Advanced Media on Tuesday. This is public property. We have to tread lightly. A fist in the air is a political statement. No, it is a human statement. It is a human rights statement. It is a civil rights statement. It is not a political statement. Just because something has become politicized by you does not mean it is inherently political. It continues. Villano said he objected mostly to the raised fist, which he felt divided members of the public. City workers painted over the fist with a rectangular shaped white box. Throw the picture up again. If you notice what they did to it, see how they do? Out of all of the things they could have done, they literally painted white over it. That makes me uncomfortable. Does my voice count? Now I'm offended. I think it's inappropriate. Citizens of that local community, they think the white box is inappropriate. Is the city listening to them? No. The city said they are not going to budge on it. Volano also said, instead of a fist, I thought it was better to see something that promotes peace, happiness, or love. So according to this city manager, ladies and gentlemen, the fist does not promote peace, it does not promote happiness, and it does not promote love. Buy as much? Dan, what are your thoughts here?
I think that last part just really gave it away right there. The fact the city manager doesn't understand the history, the context of that power fist. Like, it is a response to hundreds of years of injustice. It's an attempt to say, we matter, we exist, and we want to fight for the same amount of rights, the same amounts of equal treatment, the same amount of protection under the law, rather than vindication, vilification under the law that our white counterparts tend to expect, right? So the entire thing is just a case study in white fragility taking out in its like worst levels, but especially when it's happening on a city level, right? Like, it's just, as you kind of laid it out there, it's just kind of disgusting.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that even how they said it became a problem shows that it later was political, because all of the art was approved by the city, which means they reviewed the proposal, they agreed with the proposal, and they had no problem with the mural. Only when others said, no, you see, black fists are political to us. Black fists are offensive to us. Instead of the city standing up and saying, well, listen, that's on us because we approved it already, and we did not find it to be objectionable, nor did we find it to be offensive nor political. And that's why we approved the painting. But instead of standing up for these young people, instead of standing up on the right side of Black Lives Matter, they literally prove that black lives don't matter as much as the white ones in their community. That is what they literally proved in their inability to defend that mural. Quite ironic. Dan?
Yeah, even the political statement thing, that excuse is kind of lame to me, because I want to know the city manager's opinion on naming things Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, or like what's their opinion on Confederate statues, or like Cesar Chavez Boulevard. Let's just like start hitting down the list. What don't you like about post offices? What don't you like about like, let's do the whole thing. Let's run the whole gamut, honestly, right? Because we celebrate figures, we celebrate things or symbols of importance in this country, to this country, everywhere we go, all right? Yep. So, and this is a figure, a symbol of importance, as you said, to the black community there. And it shouldn't just be a symbol for the black community. It's like important for the black community, but it should be an understanding for all communities that this struggle for injustice continues. It can be experienced in the realm of sports, in the realm of politics, in the realm of a lot of other things, just because it's a part of life and a part of culture. And it's, when you see moments like this, where you see people getting uncomfortable from the nature of it, uncomfortable from the even minor expression of it, they're not saying defund the police. They're not putting that in the sign. They're just saying just the power fist, something that's been there in history, something that people do in protest for environmentalism, things that are very layered and abstracted away from like race, at least on the surface, although we can get into environmental racism another day perhaps, right? It definitely shows all I've got for is fragility right there.
Yeah, and you know what this is really about, Dan? This is about one thing, just being too black for them. That's what this is really about. They feel that, okay, wait a minute, we can do the little heart, you can make a symbol. We don't mind it being black hands, but that fist is just too damn black. That's right, do the peace symbol, but that fist, that's just too black for us. That's what that was about. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, stick and stay.
I'm Nina Turner, and we are on the road to revolution, baby.
Hello, somebody. And I know sometimes people talk about the angry black woman, but I'm gonna tell you something. If you ain't mad as a mofo about what's going on here, something is wrong with you.
You know, people ask me all the time, what are the lessons from 2020? Is that progressives have to get more organized and we got to come together. We have to be as agile as neoliberals. The progressive movement has to understand that it's not just enough for us to have the right ideas. We are right on most of the ideas. We're not perfect, but we're 99% right, because it is a humanitarian agenda, but we must get the power. We have to come together in a more unified way so that we utilize our power strategically to topple neoliberalism. And it's gonna happen.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, who's real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book, definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now. But it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Welcome back. All right, we got a lot of viewer comments to read. I will read as many as I can. Make sure you are subscribing to Indisputable TYT, Indisputable TYT. We have over 150,000 subscribers on their YouTube page. Follow us on social media, Twitter and Instagram, Indisputable TYT. Okay, our TYT member, Carlson is a lying mother Tucker, says instead of standing up against racism, Candace Owens ran away from her own community and took their white supremacy money. That's right, Dan was right. That's what she does. She gets paid. YouTube super chat, Nate says, almost 100% correct, Dr. Richey. Not just COVID. Abortion is yet another personal health decision the church will get involved with. You're right, but it's really interesting because pastors, they have people in their churches who have had abortions, and many of them are open about it. But this pastor said, if you're wearing a mask, you got to get up out of his church. Exoteric Dragon, USMC, combat vet here. Thank you for your service, by the way. Running troops ragged also kills troops in the field. Gymnastics is different. but he disproved his own damn point anyway. Good point. Stoneflower Dragon says Candace is a grifter. She says whatever serves her monetary purpose. That's right. Jill Wagner, I lost the love of my life last year because he believed all the conspiracy theories. Keep telling the truth. Lives are on the line. Jill, I'm very sorry to hear that. And thank you for sharing that, okay? Pegasus, sport is a mental game. And if you're not in the right headspace, you can slip up, miss the trick, and hurt yourself. It's dangerous. That's right. Crumble 104, thank you. Billy T, Dr. Richie, like Muhammad Ali, you are the greatest, my brother, knocking them out with truth. Thank you, I appreciate that. Shamira Hill, I look forward to your show every day. You're the real truth. Love you, Dr. Richie. Fan for life. And I love you back. Thank you for that. Hago de Rogue. Oh, goodness gracious, he did a 360. Yeah, the pastor did. He got so excited. The spirit of white Jesus overwhelmed him. Let me just say this straight up. I get invited to speak in churches all the time. And I make it very clear. If you all have a picture of white Jesus, please take it down before I get there. Because I will refuse to preach in a church with white Jesus. And if you keep it up there, I will talk about you during my speech, okay? One person didn't believe me. I'll send that to y'all one day. Bubba Husky, if you want to wear a mask and socially distance, go to a church with walls and a foundation. Yeah. Okay, Twitch, Insomnia Nord. They literally whitewashed the mural. Literally whitewashed it. You can tell me, you can call me Jess. It had to be some big political donor that had an issue with the fist. Disgusting. And you're probably right. It may have just been one really powerful person in that community who supports Donald Trump. And they said, no, we're gonna get rid of this fist. Just tell them it's political and keep moving. Ladies and gentlemen, my next story is complex, but necessary to cover. A judge has now found probable cause to charge a Wauwatosa cop in the fatal shooting of a man back in 2016. So let me give you some background. This is in Milwaukee. A judge has ruled there is probable cause to charge a former cop. His name is Joseph Mensah, for the 2016 shooting of Jay Anderson Jr. At the time of the shooting, Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office ruled the shooting to be justified. Now I need you to remember that. Back in 2016, a cop kills a citizen. The DA's office said, nothing to see here, 100% justified. Years later, Judge Glenn Yamahiro made another decision. This decision has not been taken lightly, the judge says, nor was it predetermined. Based upon the totality of the circumstances, the court does find probable cause that Officer Joseph Mensah operated a weapon in a matter constituting criminal negligence, and in so doing, caused the death of Jay Anderson Jr. Therefore, the court finds probable cause that Officer Mensah committed the crime. Homicide by negligent handling of a dangerous weapon. The basis for this finding rests in the testimony received over the course of these hearings. The judge also said the cop created an unreasonable and substantial risk of death in the shooting, okay? The judge is expected to appoint a special prosecutor on September 28th. That person will review the case and will determine whether they believe there's probable cause to charge Mensah with a crime. Let's put up a picture of the cop that almost got away completely with murder. Almost got away. And would have gotten away if it had not been for this rule in Milwaukee, which allows for a district judge to make an independent determination based on testimony, even when the DA decides not to charge a police officer. Mensah is now a deputy with the Waukesha County Sheriff's Office. And let's put up a picture of the young man he killed. Let me give you some background on this. Mensah was alone the night of June 23rd when he came across Anderson asleep in his car at 3 a.m. Mensah alleged after he ordered Anderson to raise his hands, which Anderson complied with, Anderson leaned a couple of times toward the passenger seat where a gun was sitting. Dashcam footage showed Mensah fired into the vehicle. Anderson was shot 5 times in the head and once in the shoulder. Details on this new development, Kimberly Motley, the attorney for the Anderson family, used a rare legal process to pursue charges against Officer Mensah in connection with the shooting. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, a defense attorney, a family attorney doing what the prosecutor failed to do. A judge looking at the evidence, making the determination probable cause exists. Now remember, the DA typically brings the charges. The DA brings the indictment. The DA brings the evidence. This DA brought nothing. This private attorney did. Under Wisconsin law, if a district attorney refuses or is unavailable to issue a complaint, a circuit judge may permit the filing of a complaint. Before the court can do that, the judge must find probable cause to believe that a person should be charged with an offense. Ladies and gentlemen, it gets even deeper. It goes even deeper than this. Now remember, this happened in 2016. 2016, he kills a guy. Shoots him in the head and the shoulder. He's gone, he's dead. DA says nothing to see here. Mensah has shot and killed 3 people in the line of duty during a 5-year span while he was employed with the Wauwatosa Police Department. You hear that, right? 3 people he's killed in the line of duty. The Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office ruled all 3 shootings justified self-defense, including the most recent shooting of a 17-year-old named Alvin Cole in 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, you may have, once again, inside of the police department, a serial killer. Over 90% of police officers never fire their weapon on duty. 99% never have to use it fatally. But this guy has killed 3 people, and the DA has cleared him of all. The latest being a 17-year-old. Let's put up a picture of this young man. That's Alvin Cole. Alvin Cole is dead. Now, according to the current narrative, this cop should have been charged in 2016. But because he was not, he was free to kill other people. This is just one of them. The shooting occurred after Cole refused a command to drop a firearm he was holding. 5 shots were fired by Mensah after Cole allegedly pointed a gun at him. He had been at the scene less than 30 seconds before all of this happened. Obviously, a lot of questions now about every single shooting this cop has been a part of. Dan, what are your thoughts?
I mean, so many. You just laid out how deep the story really runs, and how you see yet another story of yet another police officer who not only commits all of these egregious acts against people and ending their lives, causing ripple effects to their families. Think of what these folks could have done with their lives and their futures, and how that was taken away from them from this killer cop. And like the people will say, oh, well, this cop's black, look at that. Well, it's like, again, these are about systems we're talking about. We're talking about the police as a structure and as a system. And on that point, I will say this to anyone who goes, well, it's just a few bad apples. There's just a couple of people who are like this. What about all those good apples who saw someone killing people in the force, like in the line of duty, and knew this was happening and let him stay, giving him a gun, giving him a badge, not doing the standard, we'll give you 2 weeks of administrative leave or whatever, desk duty, and then you come back. Like, if the police system works as it does, and I'm of the opinion, and based on a lot of evidence over the past years and much bloodshed, I think I'm really right here. If this policing system works, how come these bad apples are constantly allowed to stay? How come these bad apples only get whittled out through these like, wow, you wouldn't believe it. They found some random law that allows them to work in this particular situation to get this one police officer. That's not a system that works if this continues happening, when this keeps happening, as this continues happening. So this continues to strengthen the calls for rethinking and reimagining what the idea of policing is, what the idea of safety is, and what we want in our communities, and what our minimum level of expectation is. Because someone coming with a gun to my car and telling me to hold my hands up is a robbery. If you're wearing a badge, it still is like an opportunity where I feel like I'm threatened, but I have to be really submissive to that, because if I'm not, they'll make up an excuse and end my life, okay? And like, I don't know if you know people who have had a gun held up to them by their cop or whoever. I do, and I know that experience. It doesn't make you feel safe. So we need to rethink policing in this country.
Yeah, very well said, very well said. Okay, we got more. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
I let that man leave, man. You got that man blocked in over there. Look, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. Ma'am, you have more important things to worry about. Like,
he can't park there?
Ma'am, you have more important things to worry about. You have to get you a neck, ma'am. You have to go get you a neck. You have no neck, ma'am. You got to go get you a neck. You out here being racist and you don't even have a neck, ma'am. You got to get you a neck. You hear me? Ma'am, I know what they said next. You go on Amazon right now, they got necks for $27. You get you a whole neck. You just put it on your shoulders. You put it on your shoulders and you good, ma'am. Okay? What you want? Uh-oh. They about to tussle. There she go. She called her fat. I know you ain't going. There they go. Man, you gotta go get you a neck now. Go get you a neck. Just go on Amazon, man, get you a neck. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Look at her, now she ain't got nothing to do. Ma'am, you just wasted all your time and your life, and you still ain't got no neck.
Oh my God. The guy who provided the amazing narration of this reminds me of a cat I was raised with named Nard. Oh my goodness. That was just priceless. I mean, without that commentary, we would have been lost. Now, obviously, this is quite ridiculous, another Karen, because somebody parked too close to her car, she decides to block them in. But here's the irony. Let's show the graphic of where she parked. She's the one too damn close to the line. She literally parks on top of the line and then blocks somebody else for parking within the lines. But see, this is what privilege does to you. She's the one completely in the wrong. And so naturally, another individual, we've seen this before with Karens, people are rising up against these Karens. Another person, a black female, steps up and decides to block the Karen from blocking the car. Poetic justice. And all of the jokes and the laughs we received from that commentary, priceless. Dan?
Yeah, I am well known around the TYT offices for my opinions on parking and how I may have My opinions on the death penalty may shift strongest in a debate if we talk about parking on the lines properly. But I think overall, that was the thing that caught me most in the video, that she is acting every which way about this. And she's the one who parked wrong, all right? Like, she's the one who is in the wrong here. But like, entitlement doesn't matter. If you have a reason to be mad, you have a reason to have an excuse, then you're gonna always make it your problem. I am, of course, because of the stuff that tends to be covered like in these situations, at least this ended with humor, so I'm at least happy about that.
Yeah, when he said, "You out here being racist and you don't have a neck," I damn near fell out my chair. This was one of I like the fact that there was somebody there to provide some comic relief to the whole thing, right? Maybe creating some lightness to the situation. But just think about the irony of a lot of these Karens. There has been this narrative that Karens are afraid of black men, that they are afraid of black people, that they fear people in the black and brown community. I have yet, brother, to see a Karen afraid of a black person. I have yet to see it. I have yet to see this happen. And I think what is going down now, because we're seeing more people actually speaking up and getting involved, I'm talking about folks that are not involved, is that individuals are starting to collectively get upset and collectively start standing up for people against these Karens.
That's the best part of it, really.
Yeah, agreed. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay.
We are on to something that is going to be amazing, but what we need is your help.
The number one problem is there's too much power in too few hands.
Every single problem that we have can be traced back to dark money.
They take large donors, they serve large donors.
So these handful of gatekeepers try to dictate everything.
Like all of you already know, they don't work for you, they work for their donors. So fire them and hire people who will only work for you, that say no corporate backed money.
We are going to change the way we elect candidates in this country.
Uncorrupted Democrats. We're gonna fight for the issues and win on policy.
This is incredibly personal. We need free healthcare for everyone.
We're fighting for $15 minimum wage, single payer healthcare, debt-free college, and we are gonna get money out of politics once and for all.
I've taken a public pledge not to accept any corporate money.
Because the last thing we're gonna do is go into another presidential election and run a corporatist against a populist candidate.
At some point, the buck needs to stop, and it's gonna stop with us. It's gonna stop with Justice Democrats.
So who are we?
People who do not take corporate PAC money.
We're relying on small donors.
99.9% of our contributions came from people.
You're a Just Democrat, so you don't take any corporate PAC money.
I'm not influenced by money.
As a Justice Democrat, I made that pledge.
Not a betting. Absolutely no.
I will go to Congress unbossed and unbought.
We try to create a government which works for all of us.
That is what America's about, and that's what a representative democracy should be about.
We are just getting warmed up here.
Vote for uncorrupted Democrats. The fight starts now, it starts today, and it starts with you.
I've been honest with him. Like, yeah, I was upset with you and I should have done it. But instead I was like, I'm just trying to protect my engagement ring.
Did you know that more than 20% of the world's oxygen comes from the Amazon? Why? Because of trees. I know what you're thinking. Of course! So what do we want to do? We want to plant more trees so we can save the climate. It's quite literal. So that's what leads to our new partner, Plant Your Change. Love it. It's so easy. What they do is you take the credit or debit cards you already have and you plug it into the system. And if you so choose, you get to round up every purchase to the nearest dollar and they plant a tree for you, okay? Now you could also choose if you wanna do it on only certain kinds of purchases or only so often, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But literally every cent makes a difference here. It's Plant Your Change. And if you wanna know more information, just go to tyt.com/trees. Let's go save the planet together.
Now, top. No. No. No.
Today, a terrible day for the internet, a terrible day for America. The internet as we know it is not going to exist anymore.
A real dark day for information, and yet another way that they're bleeding out the democracy.
We're now going to have these gatekeepers of information deciding what we can and can't see, and that's what scares me the most.
Whether you're conservative or progressive or anywhere in the middle, this is the one thing we should all agree to. Protect the internet, because the establishment is coming for it. Don't let them destroy the internet.
Welcome back to Indisputable. We got a lot of viewer comments. I will read as many as I can. Thank you all for chiming in. TYT member Mickey C. the Silver-Haired Dragon says, that cop has killed 3 people in the line of duty. Meanwhile, the vast majority of cops never draw their guns. These murderers are almost always repeat offenders because they're protected. Isn't it interesting how they are repeat offenders so many times? Rob says, Karen looked like she's never been boxed out of the key during a pickup game before. First time for everything. LMG 15, can we get a follow-up on that Karen when she gets a neck? Damn. Super chat, Lisa T, thank you for that. As a 50-something white woman, I really wish these Karens would stop. Yeah. CS says, I sent you an email, Dr. Richard, it might not be worth your time, but it was asking for your help with combating my area's anti-CRT stance. CS, I got your email. It is a lengthy email, which will require a lengthy response. I plan to get back to you this weekend, okay? Butterfly, Chauvin got 22 years after killing Floyd, yet this black cop gets 54 years, question mark. Roger Harris says, my people will roast you, yeah. Okay, here's some jokes. DOD says, that sister saved her in the neck of time. I'm Keevan says, Karen ain't from them neck of the woods.
Oh, come on. Are you certain that Jank is not like writing these?
No,
like secretly. I know he watches.
Possible. Anything's possible. All right, a York Jiff says she has a bad case of lack neck. Okay. Twitch, Jax Drax. There needs to be less rare legal processes that people can use to charge the police for their crimes. They make it as hard as possible to get any justice. You're right. This is a case that was very unique. Okay, next story. Lieutenant General says that Trump and his White House were complicit in the January 6th terrorist attack. Lieutenant General Russell Honore told MSNBC's Jeff Bennett the Trump White House was in fact complicit in planning the Capitol riot. Here's some of that.
Many indications here that the executive branch was complicit in what happened on 1/6. From what I see on television, not based on our investigation we did to prevent future attacks on the Capitol with training and intelligence police. But what's coming out clear is that the executive branch was complicit, and maybe certain agency leadership members may have been complicit.
Wow, that's staggering. I mean, that's a big statement. Coming from a very important person in the government. During the hearing on Tuesday, we played some of that earlier this week. One of the officers referred to the insurrectionists as terrorists, and rightfully so, while another denounced the Capitol attack as an attempted coup. Honore also suggested the Trump White House was behind the delayed federal response on that day. Here's more.
When you say the executive branch was complicit, the Trump White House was complicit in this attack, are you able to assign names? And I ask you that because you conducted that security assessment. And to Clint's question, do you know who was in touch with the Department of Defense? Do you know why there was that delay in getting more law enforcement to the Capitol as frantic calls were made for reinforcements?
No, this was not a part of my investigation. It's my personal opinion that the executive branch was complicit in the planning and the delayed response that occurred in bringing in more federal assistance to the Capitol that day. That's my own perception based on what I've seen and what I've heard, and by the fact that former president continuing to tell people this was not a riot, it meant no harm, it was like a picnic, it was like a stroll. He was complicit because the last I heard from him, he told them to go to the Capitol and raise hell. And many members of his party told him to be tough and to go fight. That's the complicity in the terms of intent, and that complicity, I think, rolled over in response.
I mean, damn, he's telling you exactly how he feels. So let's remember, Donald Trump was, in fact, impeached for leading the insurrection against the United States government. He was acquitted by Republican cronies who also actually agreed that he was responsible for the insurrection against the United States government, but because they lack backbone and they are cowards, they still voted to acquit the guy. Dan, strong words, right?
Yeah, he does not mince words, and honestly, I miss that sort of reality spitting out here because there's been so many really tragic sort of like retellings of what happened on January 6th that have been done for political aims and angles to try to make the Republicans look in a nicer light, as though they didn't enable this from the previous election when Trump said that he wouldn't concede unless he wins, to literally the day of, where, yeah, like he's saying, Trump suggested to raise hell, to go to the Capitol, prevent the count. Some people were courageous, some people aren't. Mike Pence, yada, yada, yada. And only when things started getting bad was he like, okay, I'm going to retreat a little bit. Let's calm down here. Trump saying like, okay, everyone's being peaceful, everyone's being friendly, etc. That like a picnic portion just makes me laugh every single time. But we need to get to the reality of what's happening here, because come the 2022 midterms, these same clowns are gonna try to run on Trumpism essentially, because Trumpism is what's working in the Republican Party, that and culture war nonsense. So we need to like show how toxic this has become and stop this, head this off at the pass before you get to the presidential election, because then it could really get ugly for the future of America.
Yeah, and Trumpism has not reached a plateau. Trumpism has not reached market saturation, meaning it is still growing, it is still permeating, and it is still becoming popularized in the right or the far right movement. Now, what's happening is that what we consider to be far right extremists are now becoming center of the party as far as politics is concerned, to where they are controlling from central of the party everything that happens in the party. You do not have a battle between moderates in the Republican Party or just your regular conservatives and Trumpites. Trumpites are running it. They are running the show, because you can't win a Republican primary in most states without getting the support and endorsement of Donald J. Trump. Okay, shifting gears, very sad story. An Army Ranger has been charged for murdering a black female security guard. This is such an odd story that is still developing. According to the footage, this Army Ranger, active duty, dragged this woman like a rag doll, beat her to where she was not even recognizable. The Pierce County Prosecutor's Office filed first-degree murder charges on Friday, July 23rd, against a man accused of murdering a security guard in Washington State this month. Let's put up a picture of the killer and the young lady that he is accused of killing. The young lady is Denise Smith. The alleged killer is Patrick Philip Byrne. Now, According to the report, this 26-year-old Army Ranger stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord was charged with the death of 41-year-old Denise Smith, who was found severely beaten and dead in downtown Tacoma on July 18th. Put up another picture of this guy, okay? Remember, active duty, special training, Army Ranger. The US Army released a statement on Friday after learning of the charges and said, and I quote, "The actions described in reports are absolutely appalling. The Tacoma Police Department has full cooperation with the United States Army Special Operations Command. Our deepest condolences to the families affected by this tragedy." Wow. Once again, a developing story. We are not aware of intent yet, but this is a story that we're going to stay on top of. Now, the alleged killer has pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder, first-degree burglary, and 2 counts of first-degree kidnapping. His bail was set by a Superior Court judge, Gerald Johnson, at $2 million. That's according to the News Tribune report. Why does he have bail? I have to bring your attention to this part of the saga. This is a man who they have on video brutally killing a black female, beating her for 10, 15 minutes. She's no longer recognizable. Okay, that's the egregious part. Let's go on the other side. This is a person with specialized training and international connections. Why does he get a bond? This makes no sense to me. It goes on. The attack that left Ms. Smith unrecognizable, according to prosecutors, was captured by cameras. Footage shows the 6-foot Byrne enter the building and encounter Smith. Smith, who was just 5 feet, grabbed Byrne's shirt to attempt to keep him from barging past her. Byrne then began to beat Smith for between 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, we're not showing the video. We don't have the footage to show you. I'm going to show you a beautiful young lady, as I'm sure her family would want her to be remembered. Here's a picture of her. She was doing her job. She was doing her job. Let me give you a little more description. During that time, the defendant repeatedly punched the victim with his fist, and he grabbed her by her braid and dragged her around like a rag doll. Prosecutors wrote in the charging papers, Byrne prevented Smith from escaping multiple times, stabbed her in the face with her keys, and choked her until she went limp. Put up a picture of this guy again. Let's get a picture of him back up there. He gets a bond. He gets a bond. During the defendant's lengthy attack on the victim, she repeatedly tried to fight back and she tried to get away, but the defendant grabbed her each time and prevented her from fleeing. Records say he repeatedly overpowered her, assaulted her, and threw her around by her hair braid. But this scumbag gets a bond. Dan?
It shows the ills of a system, not a system that allows a person this despicable to be allowed to not to just still go on the streets, essentially, right? To still be doing this. This person has problems. This person is not like stable and shit's not like, would be considered to be armed and dangerous if they were a person of color and running from the law and had done essentially the same thing, right? So it's just absolutely egregious. And like, this violence, I think, from folks in the army, not everyone in the army, but from people of color. Like this was reminiscent of like Vanessa Guillen case from a couple of years ago, where she was killed because of like, again, another like person in the army combining like toxic masculinity with violence against women of color. And it was a similar like really gruesome murder that there seemed to be like not a lot of care from the authorities. And so whose lives matter? Why do certain lives and certain experiences matter more than others in these instances? And why are there patterns, right? That's what always bothers me, that we have to end up spending time on these like despicable people because they took away these lives that could have continued, right? And so we're taking away time that could have been spent on these people's lives, that should be spent on these people's lives and what they were doing and where they were going and where they were heading and what good they were doing, right? But ultimately, it's absolutely a disgusting indictment of the American injustice system.
Yeah, very well said. Brother, it has been a pure pleasure having you on Indisputable. My man, tell people how they can follow you on social media, catch up with you.
It's been great to have you, great to be on with you rather. And you can find me on Twitter at Dan from the Web, and on YouTube, youtube.com/Dan from the Internet. That's where all the Power Report stuff is. And yeah, keep it real.
Man, I thank you for all you do, brother.
Take care.
We got more on the other side. Stick and stay. Bullpen is next.
You're about to watch some behind the scenes footage of the Young Turks. Ooh. Now these are partial videos. If you want to get all of them, you become a member, go to tyt.com/join, and you'll get all the behind the scenes of me, Anna, John, JR, a little bit reality show like. tyt.com/join and enjoy this.
You know what you're seeing behind me? Jersey, hold. Watch me flip this camera. However I flip it. Do I flip it like this? No, I just took a picture. I'm bitzing right now.
What?
Behind the scenes.
Oh, okay. For members? I don't have my face on.
She doesn't have her face on, folks. Oh, that's JR's ass right there.
You can't take 5 minutes off, can you?
No, I can't, Johnny. Bye. I said it was live stream, but I was lying. It's not a live stream. It's just for members. Bitsy, this is my cat. You know what his name is? Kiki Cat.
Animals are innocent.
Control room and the insanity is obviously there.
Right now, as you can see, I'm directing or tech directing. I'm so happy to be here.
This is what like a Labor Day beard looks like for Cenk. Man, you're a Young Turks viewer if you recognize me like this.
Oh, thank you. You are the one person in my life I would love to meet.
What's going on, guys? This is a Bitsy or a BTS or behind the scenes with Hassan Piker, AKA Woke Bay.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there.
I have finished my show, The Damage Report, and now I get into a really awkward time of the day.
When I'm sitting, the control room is right there. So I can see Bart.
This is the Pittsburgh office, by the way. I'll refer to often as the boiler room.
You see how it's ripped? Is it super unprofessional to wear that at a business meeting? Or am I like cool rebel?
I just finished doing the power panel and I'm fired up.
What do you do for TYT?
Not a whole lot.
If you're frantically tweeting at us that something's broken, thank you, because I'm fixing it.
And thank you for being a TYT member.
Super last thing, because
There's always got to be a super last thing.
Oh, that was disastrous.
This has been behind the scenes, behind the scenes.
All right, welcome to Dr. Rashad Richard Indisputable. This is going to be quite interesting. I don't know if you can handle this much truth on any day of the week. The unrest inside of the black community and communities that support them. It's because these cops are not held accountable. You have a family calling 911, and that family is expecting help, not expecting their loved one to be killed by the very people they pay to protect and serve them. Did you ever notice a cop that you work with call any black person the N-word or target people because they were black? Nope. But we disagree that somehow police officers are not also subject to the same systemic biases and racism as any other level of law enforcement.
It sounds like for everybody's need who wants to crucify the cops without looking at it.
No, crucify bad cops, brother.
Of
bad
course.
cops.
We don't need the government to step into our lives mandating that we should be wearing a mask.
You putting on a mask, Trey, is government intrusion. But you don't think the government telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body isn't government intrusion.
Where does life begin?
You want to go there? I can read it to you, brother.
You seem very well prepared. Certainly more.
Of course, why would I not be well prepared? They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform throughout this country, so I won't stop. And you won't stop either.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
All right, welcome back. We got some comments. Let's get to it. We have TYT member Rob says, she was beautiful. Thanks for telling us her story. Thank you, Rob. Tempest Parham says, I don't even want to think about what happened to her. It's horrible. It's horrible to think about it. Topher Barrow says, he couldn't control his training. He would have become a cop after military service. Joanne Adake, that is awful. This is home to us. Damn him for the shame he brought to our town and for the death he committed. Wow. Twitch, Yarwin Gate, so sad my heart goes out to her family. DJ Bleak, I serve with too many people who are eager to see violence occur. Yeah. All right, thank you all for the comments. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. In the bullpen today, we have Satyat Marar, research associate of the Center for Independent Studies, technology writer, and policy analyst. Good day, welcome.
Hey, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about, let's start with immigration policy. I don't want to presume what you believe or what you have analyzed in your policy studies. So what are your thoughts about immigration policy in the United States of America?
Well, as a foreign national who spent a year and a half in the United States, I think that skilled immigration is a big part of what makes the US a successful and thriving nation. And I think one of the beautiful things about the US is this idea about embracing people from all around the world, regardless of what their origin is. When I was in the US, it didn't matter where I was from. It didn't matter that I speak with a funny cadence. What mattered is what I brought to the table. And I think having a policy that reflects that is what is America's advantage, the best and brightest from everywhere. And the cold, huddled masses who yearn for freedom, giving them a home where they can go out and, reflect those aspirations.
I think that's very well said. what are your thoughts about some of the more conservative-leaning policies that basically are antithetical to the connection and the immigration connection to others around the world? It's a very exclusionary doctrine.
Yeah, I think sometimes it does veer into that territory. I think there needs to be a nuanced discussion about immigration when you talk about the form it takes. Legal versus versus what they call undocumented immigration. I would love to see a world where the US accepts just as many immigrants as it currently does, but is able to have an efficient and quick pathway for refugees, who are fleeing persecution, and for people who want to pursue economic opportunities, because it's only ever, been to America's benefit at the end of the day. And look, as an Australian, to be honest with you, it is in my, in Australia's interest for America to be strong and prosperous, because you guys are our security partner in a world where we see, less liberal societies like the People's Republic of China coming up. And I think if America is unable to continue attracting the best and brightest people, regardless of the national origin, I think their ability, your ability to compete with the likes of, a rising China, less liberal societies is going to, be at risk.
That's really interesting. And you're talking about the attraction model, which I agree with you on that as well. It strengthens the overall fortitude of our power and our might, right? So it's a good thing in the workforce, it's a good thing with training, it's a good thing in the educational sector, but it's also a good thing in the labor market. So let me read something. And this comes from the Congressional Budget Office. People will make the argument that somehow undocumented immigrants take away from this country more than they give back. They would just say that without any context. You're a policy guy, I'm a policy guy. They never researched it. They don't have a statistic. They don't have a source. They just say it because they assume it. So let me read something from the CBO. According to the CBO, undocumented immigrants pay a lot of money in taxes. One of about 6 million, this guy named Iadarola was one in about 6 million who actually pay taxes annually. Now, that means, and this is just talking about undocumented workers from Mexico. So the data was itemized. So out of Mexico, 6 million individuals who are undocumented actually pay taxes, and they pay taxes to things they will never benefit from. So they're not utilizing those services. So let me break it down a little more. The report from the CBO shows that 50% to 75% of undocumented immigrants pay billions in taxes each year and have been doing so since the Internal Revenue Service created a program that allow people without a social security number to file taxes. So literally, you have this just one segmented program being able to bring in billions of dollars, and you've never heard anyone make that argument on the other side. There's another report that came out that roughly 30% of the current workforce, it is an immigrant or undocumented workforce. You have that higher in some states like Arizona and others. You would tremendously damage that economy if you did a roundup and told everybody they have to go to their country of origin. And over 80% of individuals that come to the country undocumented come to work. The same federal law that says it's illegal to work undocumented, the subsection of that law says it's illegal to hire them. But you never see the hiring managers or the CEOs being handcuffed and taken to jail and prosecuted. Only the people trying to actually make an honest living. So when you look at all of this from a policy context, why do you think this has become a political partisan issue rather than let's get to the root of it, let's resolve it, and let's make sure we can have a robust policy moving forward?
Look, I think when it comes to topics like immigration, there's certainly a motive pull for people going one way or the other. Now, the raw data might say one thing and might confirm that it's a net benefit for everyone. But people look around them, they step outside and they think, well, my neighborhood looks really different to what it was 20 years ago. It doesn't feel like I'm living in the same place anymore. And they just get an inherent feeling, like that something has changed and they're losing control. And it's very easy for politicians and for polemists to really appeal to these sorts of emotions in a strong way. The other point is, when someone is going through a genuine struggle, they're struggling to find a job, they're struggling to find work. It's easy to find the scapegoat. You got Schrodinger's immigrant who is somehow stealing your benefits by relying on the welfare state that should be benefiting citizens first, but also stealing your job at the same time. I mean, which one is it really? It really is hard to ultimately take on these issues. But the more that we can have debate based on fact and figures, the more that we can have an honest discussion about the direction of policy that the country should be taking.
It should be a policy first agenda. On Indisputable, we have a policy first agenda here. We lead with the policy, politics be damned. And here's what the policy says. Here's what the statistics say. If you're making an argument about undocumented workers taking jobs, if that's your context, meaning you care about American jobs, if you actually care about American jobs, automation kills American jobs more so than any other format in America is automation. And then corporations trying to increase their bottom line by not investing in human capital. That also gets rid of American jobs more so than anything else. And outsourcing gets rid of American jobs as well. So I don't understand the conversation or the debate if they're not also debating these other nuances that are connected and more massively so to job loss in America. And literally you have a program, a system set up in this country where those who are undocumented give a net economic positive to the country rather than create a net negative.
Sure, and I think one of the key factors behind that is that when you hear economic arguments made by people who are anti-immigration or specifically anti-undocumented immigration, it's sometimes a foil for really, social conservative arguments. And they can certainly make those arguments. They can make the argument, I believe in free speech. If they want to argue that America has an aggregate character that they want to preserve for whatever reason, they should make that argument honestly and openly. They should say that this is what I want America to look like. I personally feel insecure that America is looking different to what I think it should look like, rather than trying to cover up with this fake foil about it being an economic argument. Because the economics all support a robust and strong immigration system. It's what built this country in the end. And the fact is that if this country doesn't have a healthy supply of workers coming in, not only do skilled immigrants give a lot more back to the economy than they take away, but their children end up being raised in the new country and supplementing the local fertility rates. And this is going to end up paying for everyone's social security, everyone's pensions, especially considering that in most of the Western world, including Australia, including the US, fertility rates are going down. So who's going to be able to pay that bill? Again, a frank conversation is what we need to have.
And see, that's exactly the point, brother, what you just said. This is not about an economic argument. They use that as a false pretext to disguise their real motive. This is literally about keeping America white and privileged. That's what it really is about. It's about that power, that dominance of a societal structure, a normality that they see being chipped away at. And they will use these arguments as a distraction when the truth is a policy argument doesn't stand up in their favor. It actually opposes them if they tried to have a policy debate. So they don't bother with those debates. They bother with classism. They want to create friction between certain demographics using talking points rather than policy, facts, and science to do so. You're in a unique situation because what you do is really not a partisan thing. What you do is literally a policy thing. But you often, I'm sure, find yourself in political conversations. How do you navigate the political waters here, man? Because Democrats aren't all the way right, but damn, man, Republicans seem to be all the way wrong on a lot of this stuff.
I think you'll find a broad cross-section of Republicans, especially on things like immigration policy. I know it's harder to believe nowadays because the Trump faction or brand of Republicanism is quite strongly against. Well, he claimed he was against illegal immigration, but then he spent most of his term appointing people who are against legal immigration.
Right.
And to be totally honest with you, I made a lot of friends during my time in DC, including strong Trump supporters who, they like me personally. because we shared some conservative-leaning opinions in common, even though we disagreed on other ones. And look, I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback here. I think for many of these people strongly, about controlling immigration, it's less about skin color or the way society looks superficially. It's in their mind, rightly or wrongly, it's about this idea of values, about national character. And this belief that if there isn't control over the immigration intake, then there isn't control over what values everyone shares. But look, if you want the people coming into America to embrace the idea of being American, you have to give them something to aspire to. You have to give them something that's able to include them and have them as part of the national fabric. And that includes being able to maintain aspects of their heritage while they become more American over time. I can tell you that, my family moved to Australia from India. And one of the beautiful things about Australia, as opposed to say a place like Dubai or Singapore, Dubai is probably a better example of this, is that you are actively encouraged to become Australian. And in America, you're actively encouraged to become American. But you're telling the immigrants coming in, we don't, we're a bit skeptical about people who look like you. I think that sends the opposite message. It's actually going to backfire in a big way. The vast majority of immigrants want to build a great new home in their new country. And they're going to, be most successful at doing that in a more inclusive and accepting environment.
Yeah, on that point, I completely disagree with you. I completely disagree that race is not at the core of the cultural matrix that we're talking about, because white nationalism has been something that this country was founded upon. The DNA structure of this country was founded upon the idea that white people, white men in particular, were superior to anyone else. And the DNA of that country is still present and prevalent in our systems, rules, ordinances, statutes, and even in how we carry out our norms, our societal norms. So I don't think you get away from that. Now, are there some people who would walk around and claim, listen, I'm not racist, I don't have a racist bone in my body? And they would probably even pass a lie detector test if you were to sit them down and strap them into a lie detector test. But here's the reality, their bias comes out in their decisions. We call it implicit bias, where they will say, oh, I'm not hyper aggressive racist, but they have these biases that play out. And let me bring you to another point. Race identity is still very strong in this country. Race identity is still real in the United States of America. And if you're talking about a value system, here's what I hear when you say that. I hear assimilation. That's what I hear. That should not be the goal. If we are truly a country that celebrates the diversity of each other, remember, the great experiment of America in a mature democracy is an America that actually celebrates, not tolerates, not is biased against the diversity and the differences that others may bring, right? But what we see is the concept that you talked about just now. People are saying, we want you to share the American value system. Well, that cannot be defined by some monolithic reality. That cannot be defined by somebody arbitrarily setting that value system for you, because we are all an expression of 3 E's, brother. Experiences, exposures, and environments. That's it. Nothing else, nothing more. So if you have a set of 3 E's different than the person next door to you, you will have a different value structure. And if you're telling me that my value system is not part or connected to the American value system, you are in fact devaluing me and my experiences, exposures, and environments. But what you're really talking about is this need for the white male dominated white supremacist culture to say everybody needs to think like us. That is in fact assimilation. That's not celebrating diversity. That's not just adhering to a value system. That's saying we literally want you to think the way we think about everything.
Look, that wasn't quite what I was angling at. Now, America was founded broadly, if you had to pick one ideology that underpinned America, it's liberalism. It's liberal democracy, really. It's the fact that this is one of the only major ideology in recent history that has allowed for the integration of people with widely different individual perspective, experiences, and values in the one country. And what's interesting is, this value system was celebrated even at a time when it had a racist basis. We've read what the founding fathers have had to say about race, and some of them have said things that are completely not pretty whatsoever.
Yeah, but let me just, and I hate to interrupt you, brother. But those who were enslaved, they weren't celebrating that.
You're right, you're absolutely right. And I'm not trying to wash over any of that. What I simply mean to say is for us to have a country, for America to have a country today that incorporates people from many different values and backgrounds in the one country, there are certain things that it's good to have in common: respect for free speech, respect for the rule of law, and obviously there are certain negative values on the extremes or the fringes that are inconsistent with this. And I think it is totally fair to say that these values that actually enable and support diversity, that support a cohesion, social cohesion within a diverse society, I think is important. There's a reason why immigrants, families like my own family, come to liberal democratic countries like Australia and the US. And specifically, one of the main reasons is because we love these values. There are things that I cannot say out in public if I was still back in India, that I can say here. I can openly criticize the government, I can slam them. And not only will they not put me in jail, but I can do that within the political party that I'm technically a member of. And they won't even get rid of my membership. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, you and I agree on that point. But you do realize, man, there's a growing segment of society in America. They actually will say we want freedom of speech, but they really do not. That they respect rule of law, but they're antithetical to it. That they uphold the Constitution, but they're willing to shred it. Just look at the hypocrisy of January 6th. I'm sure you can appreciate this and appreciate the irony of it. You literally had people saying that they were constitutionalists and that they were backing the police and that they backed the blue and that they are for the rule of law, committing an act of domestic terrorism against the US Capitol. And they're not, here's the thing, man, they're not a small segment anymore. They are a growing, powerful segment, and they're so strong that people that know better, who are in political power, are powerless because of their cowardly activity to actually call them out for who they are.
I'd actually argue that there's been a huge amount of criticism and of attacks against the people who stormed the Capitol. One of the interesting things was, I was in DC around that time, and I was out around midnight. I just left the office. I'd stayed back quite late. And I was worried because at the time, DC was rife with the National Guard. I was one of the only people on the street at the time. And to be honest, as a dark-skinned young man, being one of the only people out there in the middle of an area packed with National Guard troops was a bit intimidating. But I was treated so incredibly well, and I realized all of a sudden we've moved into this weird situation where in some ways we have almost, we're going towards the polar opposite of the Patriot Act era. You ask someone in the national security establishment what a domestic terrorist looks like today, and it's no longer a brown man with a beard. It's probably going to be a white guy with a MAGA hat on. So it's interesting to see that flip. I think the majority of Americans, including people, in fact, who are Republican voters, see an issue with how that particular day was handled and how it ended up turning out. And it was. Well,
let me give you a stat. Are you aware of how many Republicans agree with the Capitol insurrection? Do you know?
Is it something like 40%?
49%. 49, damn near 50% of Republicans agree with what you and I recognize as a terrorist attack. That's today. It was at 38. It increased to 42. It was at 51 at one point, and it dropped to 49. You don't find that to be a real blow at democracy at its core, that damn near half of a political party believes that a terrorist attack against the United States government was justified?
I think it's a testament to the fact that you can have a functioning democracy, even at times of great weakness and great crisis, where we can have a frank discussion about these issues and start what is really a long conversation. Now, the thing is, if there are people out there who genuinely think that the election was a complete fraud and that storming the Capitol was justified because the whole thing was a fraud, then there is a wider conversation with these people that needs to happen, and that needs to be given the sunlight of day.
Man, they need to go to jail if they committed an act of terrorism. And I want to remind you, man, there's a whole lot of people felt like Al Gore got the election stolen from him. A whole lot of Democrats felt like Hillary Clinton got the election stolen from her. You know what they did not do? They did not commit an act of domestic terrorism against the United States government. Brother, I am flat out of time, man. It's been fun. I hope you come back.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a good show.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you stay for our reactions with Ravana. And remember this, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. And remember, the truth is always indisputable.